So welcome everybody to Kold Wars Part 4. We've had 3 good nights so far from Minsk, Belarus, organised by our Siesta and Siesta Promotions, our MC, who's becoming a familiar face, just sweeping towards the ring. And we've got 4 good matchups for you tonight. And our first one will be at heavyweight, and it's the first heavyweight clash we've had on Kold Wars. Me, Andy Clark and Barry Jones with you as always. And we had some good action last night, some good fights, some good performances.
Siesta и промоутерская компания Siesta в партнерстве с Zhan представляют 4-е заключительное боксерское шоу серии Kold Wars. Генеральный партнер букмекерская компания Париматч. Партнер шоу торгово-развлекательный центр Diamond City Минск. Технический партнер бренд спортивной одежды и экипировки Бука. Все важное было сказано, а это значит, что мы готовы начинать. So, let the battle commence! Мы открываем основной карт сегодняшнего вечера 10-раундовым поединком в тяжелом весе. We now open the main part of the evening with a 10-round bout in the heavyweight division. Встречайте! Boxer is Polski, so please welcome first, representing Poland, Kamil Sokołowski.
Well, Sokołowski is a pretty familiar face, or familiar name at least, to UK fight fans certainly. From Poland, as our MC said there, but based in Barnstaple in Devon, and has been for a good while, as had pretty much all his fights in the UK, and he's been in with some good names as well, lasting the distance against Sam Sexton, Martin Bacoli, David Price, that wasn't too long ago, a couple of years back, Nathan Gorman and Lucas Brown. He was stopped by Gorman on another occasion, and also by an 11-0 Dillian White. A big win came against Nick Webb by knockout. That was fairly recent too, but he's also chalked up victories against Sean Turner and a 10-0 Alex Dickinson, a former ABA champion. So he certainly comes to win Sokołowski, although he's got 17 defeats on his record.
And now, his opponent from Kazakhstan, Zhan Kossobutsky.
So Sokołowski, I make a test here for Kossobutsky. He's 31 years old, the Kazakh, 13 fights and 13 wins. Boxed internationally for Kazakhstan as an amateur, but not in any of the major tournaments. I couldn't find any evidence of that anyway. Boxed at heavyweight, and so always found himself behind Vasily Levitt. Although he did beat Levitt once actually in 2010 at the National Championships, which is no mean feat. His career has taken him around a good few countries, and his 13 fights in total have yielded 12 knockouts and just 25 rounds. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's got the kind of power that record would suggest that he has.
It's now time to introduce you to the boxers. Боксер синего угла. Ему 34 года. Его рост 185 сантиметров, вес 103 килограмма ровно. Его рекорд 9 побед, 3 из которых одержаны нокаутом и 17 поражений. Из города Częstochowa, Polska, fighting out of the blue corner, hailing from Poland, holding a professional record of 9 wins and 17 losses. He stands at 6 feet and 1 inch tall. He weighed in at 227 pounds, all the way from Częstochowa. Witajcie, Kamil Sokołowski! Его соперник в красном углу. Непобежденный нокаутер из Казахстана. 90 сантиметров, вес 104 килограмма 800 граммов. На сегодняшний день его рекорд 13 побед и 12 нокаутов. Из города Костанай. In the red corner, the undefeated puncher from Kazakhstan, holding a record of 13 wins and 12 knockouts, standing at 6 feet and 3 inches tall, weighing in at 231 pounds. He is 31 years of age from the city of Kostanay. Amandasu, Zhan Kossobutsky!
Well, there's the tail of the tape. Just a little bit of difference between these two in terms of height and also age. The records are quite different, but I've just outlined their careers there. Kossobutsky has been put in so far with fighters that he has been expected to beat. Sokołowski has always been in the away corner, taking tough jobs. But as I said, he has won some of those tough jobs. And I think there's every chance that he will pose a few questions for Kossobutsky tonight that previously he has maybe not had to try and find an answer to. Kossobutsky's been training in his garage during lockdown, he was saying during the week. And interestingly, he was offered a fight with Alan Babic on the 22nd of August at the Matchroom fight camp, I was told by Siesta Promotions, but he was already under contract for this and he preferred this fight. Kossobutsky boxing out of the southpaw stance. He's in the black, Sokołowski in the red and white.
It looks bigger than a couple of inches difference, doesn't it? Kossobutsky standing
It does.
nice and tall, and Sokołowski no sort of crouch down with a good left hand there. Kossobutsky.
Kossobutsky just walking forward behind that high guard there, looking to peck out with that left hand. Right hand to the body there from Sokołowski.
Don't really use the jab, does he? It's much just like a measuring stick, isn't it? Really, just sticks it out there for the left hand. Got to be careful with that. Just walking forward there, they clash of heads, you know, any little bumps or cuts.
It's slightly curious the way he does that. It's almost like he deliberately squares up,
yeah,
and just walks in without really throwing. I'm not entirely sure what the method behind that is.
It would only be for you to let your hands go, and hopefully you leave a gap that he can counter for. I can't think of any other reason.
Sokołowski every now and again just trying to find some openings to the body. He's having a little bit of success doing that, but Kossobutsky isn't really feeling them, not at the moment. Quite a quiet opening round heading into the final minute of it.
But what Kossobutsky has done here is just he's made Sokołowski work quite hard, and he's with the feet especially. Just engineered him round there with that front foot taking the centre of the ring. Just like to see him put a little bit more on that jab. How nice that southpaw jab is. It's a great weapon if you can get it going.
Final few seconds. It's been very measured, this, from Kossobutsky, for a man who has blasted everybody out of there. Well, almost everybody, and most of them in double quick time. Just a quick touch of the gloves before he wanders back to his corner. Sokołowski in the red and white takes a seat. As I say, he's been boxing out of the UK for a long time. He competed as a pro in Muay Thai as well before turning pro as a boxer.
Yeah, it was nice, it was nice to measure this work. I thought he didn't get out the second gear, out the first gear at all, did he, really? But don't really throw the jab, but the few punches he did throw, especially with the left hand, were pretty good shots. And he showed his physical strength, and he took the centre of the ring there, just made Sokołowski have to work around him, and with very little success. So you'd hope that he's just trying to just bully him a little bit more, and just trying to maybe get him to run out of steam before he puts on a full attack.
So into the second round, Kossobutsky just starting off with a couple of jabs. Sokołowski looking to reply himself, and both of them immediately at the start of the second round here are looking a little bit more proactive.
Well, Kossobutsky, it's obviously all the powers in that left hand, isn't it, from the southpaw stance. You can see he's looking for that, but that's the problem. You can see he's looking for that. So just because that's a bit better with the jab, a little bit slower, but at least he's throwing it to land the shot rather than just measuring. Sometimes you've got to disguise your big shot by throwing other variations of punches, and then let your honey shot go. Good jab there. He didn't quite connect with it, but it was solid, wasn't it?
Put some more on that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like you said, for the first time, every now and again in this round, he's just put some weight behind that jab and thrown it more as a weapon. Just turns orthodox there. Kossobutsky, who's in the black. Zhan on the back of the trunk. Sokołowski in the red and white. Kossobutsky looking for the right hand to the body there. Stayed in the orthodox stance there. And it's the body that Sokołowski's looking for when he gets the opportunity. But like you said in the first round, Kossobutsky, his work rate's slightly deceptive almost, because he is just moving at what would seem to be a fairly glacial speed at times. But having said that, he's never too far away from Sokołowski, who is constantly just working around the periphery of the ring and always having to throw something. Kossobutsky's got this imminent kind of latent threat about him, even if he's not really doing a lot.
But still, you'd like to see him let his hands go when you know. He's pressuring with the feet, and again, the feet are not too fast, but he's pressuring with them. Now, get your rewards by letting the punches go.
He looked for a big left hand there, didn't he? But he wasn't really in any position to throw it. He was too far out, and the balance went. You saw the back foot just move up off the canvas. Bell goes at the end of the second round, and Sokołowski, it's a tough job for him tonight. He's got 8 more to go here. He's already breathing quite heavily.
See that jab? You seen he threw the jab there. If he just sort of doubled it up a little bit more, or put a little bit more purchase on it, throw it with a bit of intent, it opens the space up there. Whether he's orthodox or southpaw, it opens the space up for the backhand.
Round 3.
So into the third, Kossobutsky quick to the centre of the ring, looking for the 1-2 there, but reaching with both of the punches really, with the jab with that right hand and the more powerful shot with the left. Sokołowski just pecking away. As I said, he's having to throw plenty of punches here just to try and offset Kossobutsky and not give him the time to set up that big left hand, which he will be more than aware is the danger.
Nice little sneaky right hand there, wasn't it, from Kossobutsky there? Just a reminder to Kossobutsky there that he has to just keep his hands up. And he seems comfortable, Kossobutsky. You know, he's just walking forward, and no shots are bothering him. Just like, again, just be a little bit more active with the hands. When you're close there, he could be ripping to the body.
Steps in and looks for the left hand there. Sokołowski managed to block that one with the gloves. And then the Pole just looks for an overhand right on the inside. Didn't quite manage to land it.
Kossobutsky is just looking for that big left hand.
Well, that's no knockdown. Sokołowski was just skirting away to his left and maybe tripped slightly on the advertising Toblerone. But exactly, that's what he's trying to set up all of the time. And just getting to work there, finishing on the left hand to the body. Sokołowski backed up to the ropes, just managed to get hold of him up close. He's cuffing shots with the left and the right.
Yeah, but he's letting his hands go in combinations, isn't he? That's what you want to see from him. I think, you know, the throwing punches in 2s and 3s at least, you know, will open up the target for him.
And these two just leaning on each other in the centre of the ring, and Sokołowski is happy to hold on there. That was almost quite affectionate for a second, as these two huge guys just took a little bit of a breather. That was a good-looking right hand there from Kossobutsky. And he's just beginning to turn the pressure up a bit in this third round, and you would guess that he really is heavy-handed, because Sokołowski isn't showing any facial wear and tear, but you just get the feeling that these short little punches that Kossobutsky is landing, whilst they might not look like much, I think they're taking something out of him.
Yeah, it's just not real panic. Just a little bit of panic, isn't it, when he gets tagged, whether it be the body or the head there from Sokołowski. No, he's not real worried, but you just see he looks there, maybe just look to cling on a little bit, hold on. He just finished with a nice little body shot there, Kossobutsky, at the end of that round. Oh, there you go. That's good. See, when he does good work, isn't it, when he lets his punches go? He's looking for the tag. He's not just throwing them, swinging them in, like a lot of heavyweights do. He's looking to look for the clean target. He threw 2 headshots, dipped down to the body with the right hook. Or the left hook, sorry, from the southpaw stance there. And that's a good little bit of work from him. More of that, please.
Kossobutsky in the black just sticks out that jab right at the start of the round. Sokołowski gets in tight and just traps his forearm on the blind side of the referee, and then looks to get in and hold again, and I think we'll be seeing plenty of that from him as we head through the rounds. Kossobutsky, it'll be interesting to see if he looks just to try and ramp things up just another notch in this round, because so far he has just incrementally turned up the heat, which is always good to see. See if I have a bit of a look and then decide that it's time to start stepping on the gas, if only gently. There was a good right hand there, though, from Sokołowski that caught Kossobutsky.
Yeah, but also a good uppercut, wasn't it, as well, there from Kossobutsky. I think as Sokołowski landed with a left hook, I think Kossobutsky landed with a left uppercut at the same time. Moving quite well here, isn't he, for a big fella? Sokołowski.
He obviously stays in good shape, doesn't he? I think that's
Yes.
something I've noticed about him every time I've seen him fight, and that's why he's got these wins against prospects. He's beaten 5 unbeaten up until that point home corner fighters during the course of his career, and you talk about people with misleading records, and he is certainly one.
Just like to see Kossobutsky now just take a little step, but a bigger step with that right foot. Just going to start cutting the ring off now. Sokołowski just being allowed to move around the ring, so even though Kossobutsky lets his hands go, then he's always hitting a moving or a turning target. So if he just takes that step across, and as well as that, he'll square Sokołowski up for that left hand as well, that back hand, which throw right on the guard, right through the pipe.
Again, Sokołowski just looks to get hold of his man and just walking back a bit. Kossobutsky looking at the referee there to maybe do something about that, but I don't think the referee will feel any need to get involved. He's just throwing these single shots and then moving at the moment, Sokołowski.
Doing his job, isn't he, really? That's just what it is, really. He's making it difficult for the young prospect, making him have to work hard and keeping himself out of trouble.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't in any way a criticism. I think he'll do really well if he manages to get through the 10 here, Sokołowski, because, as we've been saying, it doesn't look like a really hot pace because they're heavyweights and they can tend to not move that quickly. But as you said in the first round, Kossobutsky, who we're looking at now, he has made Sokołowski work hard these first 12 minutes, and he's caught him with punches like that, which are going to dent the energy bar. This is a tough mission for the man in red.
Well, it's hard enough for a featherweight, like my sort of weight, moving around at 9 stone, constantly having to move around the ring and have to think as well. The mentally you think that drains you. But when you're carrying all that muscle, with 16, 17, whatever they are stone, then you can certainly take the effect. And to be fair to Sokołowski, he's all muscle, isn't he, as well? So it's a lot to carry.
Seconds out. Now we go. Round 5.
I'm glad they stuck with the dinner plate and didn't bring back that massive bell.
We had the huge bell in on the first night, didn't we?
Yeah,
and then since then we've had the gong, but
the dinner plate.
It's been good fun. It's been well organised.
Yeah.
There's definitely been a place for it, and I do believe that we might be back here again before too long, because nobody really knows how to plan ahead at the moment, and it's best not to take too many chances assuming that things are going to radically change, because it really is all just completely unknown exactly how quickly the sport might move back towards some semblance of normality. Sokołowski doing what he's been doing from the start here, just circling around Kossobutsky, trying to keep him turning, trying to make sure that he's never really set to throw with full power.
And that's what I'm saying, so he's doing his job. But Kossobutsky at times is not doing his. He should be cutting off the ring. This is not his first fight, this is his 14th fight, so he needs to be using that front foot to cut the ring off and don't allow escape routes for Sokołowski. Force him to stand. He wants him to stand in front of him so he can let his big shots go. So but if he won't play the game, you have to force him to do that, and you do that with the feet. You just block the exit routes until in the end the only way out is through you. Good shot.
That was a neat looking one too, that just knocked it back onto his heels. When he does throw in combinations, as he did more in that previous round, he looks dangerous, but at the moment, as you said, he's kind of following Sokołowski around, looking to tee up that one big shot. But having said that, he gets through with 3, 4, 5 shots, and down goes Sokołowski. And as I said, the Kazakh has got some heavy hands on him, because he doesn't need to catch him with what seems to be full power or to really need to load up. But when he lands clean, then he knows about it.
Yeah, and they must be heavy hands because there's no speed in the punches really. To be fair, there was a little bit more acceleration in that left hand there, but for the most part there's no real speed in the shot, so they must be really heavy, which just makes you think if he could just get a little bit more turn from the core, from the waist, how much more explosive he could be.
Well, there he goes again. Kossobutsky just walking forward, walking in square, and Sokołowski this time manages just to tie him up. 10 seconds remaining in round 5, and this is the halfway stage, so that finishing tape for Sokołowski is looking a long way into the distance at the moment. Just a little bit of a slip there with his back foot, goes down, no knockdown. Deep breath from the Barnstable man as he goes back to the corner. Kossobutsky's team, I'm sure, will be happy. Let's have a look at the knockdown.
It's a good jab, isn't it? At last he's starting to get that jab into play a little bit more. He's starting to throw a jab, that's the important thing. Oh, they're good shots. That's not even a knockdown there, but they're good hooks there. There you go. I think that 3-punch combination was probably what really scrambled the senses a little bit, and then it was just a little bit of a cuffing shot that just helped him on his way down. They're good. That's the right hook, isn't it? That's the shot that really done the damage. As you said, when he puts his punches together, he looks the business.
Round 6.
So into the second half of this one, Sokołowski in the red and white went down in that previous round. He's lost every round so far. Kossobutsky in the black, undefeated, 13-0, 12 stoppages. Sokołowski, as we know, is a tough away corner fighter who has taken some decent scalps and gone the distance with some very capable fighters. So if Kossobutsky can stop him here, then that will be a feather in his cap. He'll join just Dillian Whyte and Nathan Gorman as the only 2 people so far to manage that. Dillian Whyte in action on the 22nd against Alexander Povetkin at the Matchroom Fight Camp.
Good fight, actually.
Bit of a standoff there between these two. Kossobutsky was looking for a way in. Sokołowski wasn't going to volunteer one, that's for sure.
When he starts using that front hand, once he starts jabbing, he just looks a whole different fighter, and it gives so many more problems there for Sokołowski as well, with where he moves and about whether he's going to throw a punch or not. It just stops him from doing pretty much everything that he wants to do to survive.
It's a nice bit of work from Sokołowski on the inside there. He's quite frustrating like that, Kossobutsky, isn't he? Because you look at him and you think it's so obvious what he needs to do to get the stoppage here. If he just turns up the heat, he could get the stoppage here, and it would be a notable guy to stop for the reasons I've just outlined.
Good right hook there though as well from Kossobutsky, but yeah, and I don't think it takes a dramatic amount of effort. And also, I'm not saying put your foot on the gas now and go all out. I just mean just a little bit of an increase. That's all. Just a little bit of more acceleration in your work, just a little bit more effort, and just more jabs, more punches thrown. A good shot there from Sokołowski.
It's a decent overhand right, just caught him. And Kossobutsky just digging away on the inside there. A bit of a lazy-looking lead right hand. Just stands off and drops his hands. And if he's growing a little bit frustrated himself at the fact that Sokołowski won't just stand still and let himself be hit, then he needs to realise that, as you said before, he needs to cut that ring off a little bit better, because Sokołowski's not stupid. He's not just going to do what his opponent wants him to do.
You have to play your part. It's his job to stop him, and I think he would be able to do it.
Well, I got the end swell out of the corner.
There's some good stuff, but for the most good shot there from Sokołowski. Because of Kossobutsky, you know, everything just looks a little bit. Oh, I can't really be bothered to be here. Sort of look about him.
Particularly in that round we just watched, it was a little bit noticeable as he was standing in the centre of the ring, let his hands drop as if to say to Sokołowski, "Look, will you please just stand still?" It was that kind of. It was though, wasn't it? It was that kind of demeanour he had about him. You know, just play ball, will you? I'm 13 and no, I'm the kind of nominal home fighter here. Just stand still and let me hit you.
I boxed a fellow called Peter Buckley, and obviously I was a mover, and he was the big strong guy, and he was getting frustrated by my movement. No, he was out. Listen, it was a good close fight, but I mean the movement was doing his head, and he wanted me just to stand in front of him and have a tear up, which obviously I would have come second best with. So I did the total opposite. But you could see the frustration. At one time he grabbed me and we clashed heads, and he sort of swore at me and said, "Watch your beep 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 head," and then headbutted me back.
Well, he was a legendary fighter.
Tough as nails.
Just touchy with that jab again, Kossobutsky.
See, I understand the pushing with the jab, because heavyweights have the old sort of American 80s type. You push the shoulder and you just keep pushing them off balance to line them up for the left or the right hand. Most people were orthodox back then, or the left hand would be for Kossobutsky's sake. But this pawing thing just leaves the jab out there. It's a risk for you getting caught yourself.
As soon as Kossobutsky, or rather Sokołowski, threw that right hand there, Kossobutsky just sparked into life. And again, he just walks after Sokołowski.
Yeah, walks after him. I think that's the issue. And again, all it takes is a little step to the side. You don't have to follow him or chase him down. Cutting the ring off sometimes can take maybe 3 cycles of the ring. Just cut him off. But in the end, you'll cut him and go get him where you want him to. Just take a little step to the side, make him work a little bit harder, and just close that gap until he's stuck in the corner, stuck on the ropes. Then you can work away. He doesn't even have to quicken his feet to do it. Just make the right angles with the feet.
Referee just having a word with Sokołowski about turning his back there, as he was quite literally running away from Kossobutsky towards the neutral corner. You could see the marking up on the face there of Sokołowski.
And the blowing as well, could you see it? Just puffing the cheeks out there, having to work hard, as we've already mentioned.
Well, inside the final 30 seconds of round 7, he's going to get through this one, and he's got 9 minutes after this. I think he would have felt that in the second half of the fight, this was going to get really hot for him at some point, and it very well still might. But he's got through 6 and 7 without too many problems.
Well, he's winning everything. So I feel like we've been sort of really down on him, criticising him for everything he's doing. But when a guy's winning so clearly, and you see things that he could be doing to be even more impressive or to be impressive, then you sort of want to see him do that, don't you? You want to, and I don't think it's massive adjustments or even a massive effort, just a little bit more effort that would pay so much more dividends for him.
Absolutely, there just looks to be so obviously so much more to come from him. It'd just be great to see it, these final 3 rounds. As you say, he's won everything. He's scored a knockdown, he's cantering. But he's got a platform here, he's got an opportunity. Why not take it? Why not just take what wouldn't even really be any particular risks in this final 9 minutes and really try and put his stamp on the night, because everybody likes to watch the heavyweights.
They do, but sometimes they can be the worst ones to watch as well, because they are big guys, and they can be quite laboured in their work. So I'm a little guy, so I'm always going back to the smaller guys. The thing you have, when there's a good heavyweight fight, it's very hard to beat. That's the truth of it. When you've got two big guys of quality really going for it, then it's what draws a lot of people to the sport.
Well, it's that mixture of almost supernatural kind of power coupled with incredible vulnerability, because when you see them up there, it's amazing, isn't it? When you see a heavyweight go down, really hurt, it's like nothing else, because when they stride into the ring, they just seem absolutely bulletproof, invincible, these incredible specimens. And then when you see one fall apart, I was at Madison Square Garden for Joshua against Ruiz, and watching Anthony Joshua fall apart was one of the most breathtaking things I've ever seen. Kossobutsky looking to put his hands together there, and that had some impact on Sokołowski.
He hurt him just once around the ring before that, hit him with the left hand, but that was a lovely little right hook there from Kossobutsky. Again, sustained attack now gets it done for him, I feel.
Exactly. He's got 90 seconds here, right hand followed by the left, and he's just cuffing Sokołowski around, and Sokołowski just grabs hold, and Kossobutsky looks to the referee to disentangle, trying to find the uppercut on the inside, and again gets close. Sokołowski grabs him, walks him back. He's going to do that as much as he possibly can.
Oh, they're good shots. There's one for the heavyweight, when you're going forward, you feel that 1-2 and it goes right, punches right through the gloves. Nice
left hand there from Sokołowski.
Yeah.
Did well with that, didn't he? Because it just allowed him to move in and grab him again.
It just shows his toughness and durability, doesn't it? Where, he's taking a few heavy shots in this round and toughen a little bit, and you think maybe he just look to just totally survive, and it comes back with a nice little couple of good shots there.
Inside the final 30 seconds, and Sokołowski, again, he looks like he's going to tick another round off here. He looked in a bit of trouble a minute ago. Turned southpaw himself there just to try and punch on the move. Well, this is hard work. He's earning his money, that's for sure.
Well, it really is, but he's doing well to stay in there, especially some of most of the rounds. I don't think Kossobutsky's doing enough to really worry Sokołowski. To be fair, he's just having to keep moving. Just the fitness levels have to be high. There's been maybe 2 rounds where he's had this sort of pressure, and they've been hard, and he could have looked for a way out, but he hasn't to his present.
Seconds out. Round 9.
So 2 to go. Zhan Kossobutsky in the black. He's dominated this fight so far against Kamil Sokołowski in the red and white. Scored a knockdown earlier on and has won every round. Sokołowski has hung in there. He stayed busy, worked hard, kept those feet moving, thrown enough just to make sure that his opponent has never been able to have it entirely all his own way.
But it'll be interesting to see where they go now with Kossobutsky. He's going to be 14-0 now, which certainly in this era means that he's ready for some sort of title tilt. And you think, what route will they take him? Because he's shown he has heavy hands, but he hasn't really shown and good feet for tripping up. He also has shown that he's not doesn't look like he's a massive KO artist, and because he just lacks a little bit of speed in his work to really get that explosiveness. And looks a tad lazy. Oh, good shot.
That was decent left hand, just
But he can put his punches together, as we've seen there. So he can do these things. It's just maybe the willingness to do it. And I think if he's going to step up the levels, he's going to have to be a little bit more assertive. I don't mean busy for 3 minutes, but have a few stages, 3-4 stages in a fight where he goes for little bursts of flurries of combinations.
Heading up towards the final minute of the round. He just needs to look a bit more dynamic, doesn't he, when he's on the attack. He's one-paced, isn't he?
That's the word, Andy, dynamic. But why use one word when you can use 55?
But you raise a good question as to what they would do with him next. I think he signed to Universum in Germany, and he did box for an IBO Intercontinental in his last fight, and he won that, so they're getting him on a trail of sorts. But Sokołowski is always going to be a good choice of opponent for this kind of fight. You're coming out of lockdown, you know that he's going to come in shape and he's going to give you some rounds, and if you're not on your game, it might turn out to be a bit more than that.
Yeah.
But he's got to make some kind of leap sometime soon, you would think. He goes down again there, Sokołowski, but again it was a slip half push.
But just whole demeanour with Kossobutsky looks like he can not really be bothered. I understand when he's obviously been knocking everyone over, and I understand that he feels that the shot will come, and that's probably the arrogance that big punchers have. I don't have to do a lot of work, because when I do hit you, you're gonna stay hit. He does a few good things. That's good. There's a good little move there, isn't it? Left hand there. Good awareness to see something coming back. Make the Sokołowski miss quite easily. And that's a nice little 1-2 there, right down the centre with the guard. But there's been pockets of some really good work from him. We just want to see a little bit more of it. That's the real criticism.
Seconds out.
To the guy who's won everything.
So into the final round, touch of gloves between the two. Kossobutsky in the black and Sokołowski in the red and white. And maybe he can just provide this finish in the final round. Maybe he'll go for it a little bit more. Nice 1-2, then just took the weight back.
Well, the speed in that 1-2 was different to what he's normally been doing. So again, I just think he needs a fire lit under him all the time. I think he needs that motivation. It's constantly someone banging the drum at him.
And again there, just drops the gloves, motions towards Sokołowski, then puts them back up, and I think he will know by now that Sokołowski is not about to fall in with his wishes and stand square and have a trade up. That's not going to happen.
Left hook the body there from Sokołowski. On the move as well. Good right hand. And again. I don't think it dipped the legs there, Sokołowski. I think he's looking to hold on.
He was leading in, wasn't he, to grab hold, and all of a sudden Kossobutsky managed to disentangle, and he's just beginning to go to work a bit maybe as we approach this final minute. It's a neat little short 1-2, and down he goes again there, Sokołowski, and he's spread out on his chest, and he is absolutely exhausted, I think. I'm not sure he's going to make this. Well, no, he's not going to make it. He is utterly, utterly spent, and Kossobutsky there did what we've been asking him to do, which was just provide a little bit of sustained pressure. But I tell you what, when he does get home, he threw a nice 1-2, but they were short punches, not thrown with any real speed, as you've been saying. But they were enough. I mean, we talked about the heavy hands, and they really must be hands of stone, those, because when he's accurate and when he lands with them, well, you know about it.
Well, I said those straight punches right through the guard, especially for heavyweights, they hit you flush. They're not very nice shots anyway. But obviously for these big guys, it was a beautiful shot. The last shot was really right down the pipe, and you could just see there Sokołowski, he just sunk straight away. You knew you pretty much felt as soon as that landed there, that was going to be it. Even if he got out, he was going to be knackered. This one now there you go. He sort of gets it 3/4 way through as well, so he has the whole weight of the push through him. It was a good shot. It's a good shot to finish, so it ends up being a very good finish, and on paper it's a fantastic win for him, and it is a good win for him. But I think he has more potential to be better, and you cannot but want to see the best out of people, don't you? So you tend to end up criticising a guy who wins everything very comfortable because he could have been even better. It's a good finish though, good shot.
It is, but that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And if it sounds like we've been hard on him, it's just because he does look like, with a bit more effort, a little bit more ruthlessness maybe, he could really be an absolute handful, to say the least, for anybody. Because you just got the feeling that he could have done that almost any time he wanted to after about the 4th round.
I think so. I just feel that, I know when you have, I never had power, but I know when you have power, then you can always, you bank on that quite often. And I understand that, but it's not always going to work. You can hit them clean, or they take a great shot, or whatever it may be. If you step in the levels, those things happen. So you have to work on, at this level now, you have to work on all the other stuff, be better at all the other stuff. And the better your footwork, for him, it's all about the feet. The better his footwork is, the closer he gets to the target, the more chance he got of knocking you out. The more he cuts the ring off and he stops you from your escape route, the more chance he got of knocking you out. And, the end game is him knocking you out, but he needs sometimes to use his feet to get himself in the right position, or force you to put yourself in the wrong position for you. That made sense to me. I'm not sure if that made sense to you guys.
No, it did. It made sense to me. It's made sense to me. That Kazakhstan flag, I've seen that flying in amateur tournaments a lot down the years, and more fighters from Kazakhstan are turning professional, have been turning professional over the last few years. Uzbekistan too. And it's made for a very interesting world scene in pro boxing.
На первой минуте 46-й секунде 10-го финального раунда свою 13-ю победу нокаутом одержал боксер красного угла Zhan Kossobutsky.
Well, as I said, he becomes only the 3rd fighter after Dillian White and Nathan Gorman to stop Sokołowski, and he's lasted distance against some good operators, such as David Price, who's got a lot of power, Martin Bakoli. He's been a distance with Gorman on another occasion, so this is a feather in the cap for Kossobutsky, and I will be very interested to see him again and see how he progresses over the next 12-18 months, because at 31 years old, he's got plenty of time as a heavyweight. And he looks in decent shape too, so there wouldn't appear to be any issues with him working in the gym, with buckling down to training.
Спасибо, Zhan Kossobutsky.
I think the MC is quite keen for them to move along so he can get the next fight in the ring, but I don't think he's going to tell him, is he?
No, it's also can't get the microphone off him now.
He can't get the microphone off him, and finally gets it back.
после чего мы продолжим поединки основного карта заключительного турнира этой серии Kold Wars. Забегая немного вперед, нам будет чем порадовать вас и в сентябре. Ну а пока наслаждайтесь свободным моментом, обсудите бой и будьте готовы подарить свои эмоции бойцам, участникам следующего поединка.
So it looks like we're in for a short break before we get our next fight in the ring, which will be an 8-rounder between Khamkhoev and Pavel.
That was good from Kossobutsky, I thought. You know, the heavyweights are a stacked division at the minute, and we haven't been able to say that for a long time, I feel. But he's back. I think he makes it. I think he makes some more strides and a few more learning fights, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second round of the main card consisting of 8 rounds in super welterweight division. Встречайте первым боксера из Эстонии. Coming to the ring first, boxer from Estonia, Pavel Samjonov. Asinia, and now, all the way from the Republic of Ingushetia, Russia, Khamkhoev.
So making his way to the ring now is Khamkhoev, 27 years old, fighting out of Russia, 3 fights and 3 wins. Turned pro last year at the age of 26. Evidence of a reasonable amateur career I was able to find. His last fight was a points win back towards the end of February. During lockdown, he trained in the mountains of Ingushetia and then went on to Moscow. He's had 6 weeks notice for this, so plenty of time to prepare himself. Training in the mountains, training in the Russian mountains conjures up images of Rocky, of course, inevitably.
Опытный и опасный боксер из города Марту, Эстония. Ему 35 лет. Его рост 175 сантиметров, вес 71 килограмм и 900 граммов. Его рекорд 24 победы и 14 поражений. Прямиком с берега Балтийского моря. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands 5 feet and 9 inches tall. He weighed in at 158.5 pounds. At 35 years old, experienced and dangerous. He currently holds a professional record of 24 wins and 14 losses and 2 draws, all the way from Mardu, Estonia, Pavel. Ровно по диагонали. Его оппонент из Республики Ингушетия, Россия. Ему 27 лет, его рост 182 сантиметра, вес 71 килограмм и 900 граммов, не знающий поражений. Он одержал 3 победы и представляет на турнире город Назрань. Across the ring, with a flawless professional record of 3 wins, he stands at 5 feet and 11.5 inches tall. He weighed in at 150.5 pounds. At 27 years old, representing the Republic of Ingushetia, Russia, Khamkhoev!
Bit of a difference between the two of them in every facet, really, in terms of age, in terms of experience, in terms of size. But Samjonov has come in good nick here, which he generally does. He's been in with some good fighters. The 24 wins have all come in Estonia against limited opposition, generally, although he did have a win in November 2018 against the former IBF Super Welter champion, Kasim Umar. That is by far the most impressive victory he's had, and the 14 defeats have come on the road. But he's been a distance with the likes of Sergio Garcia, who was 16-0 then, and who is now the reigning European Super Welterweight champion. In August, a couple of years after that, he was in with Hussein Bysangarov. And 2018 went 8 rounds with Dennis Radovan, a decent German fighter I've seen quite a few times, who's now training in Sheffield with Grant Smith, actually. Khamkhoev, southpaw. Samjonov, orthodox. It's Khamkhoev with those red gloves.
It's a positive start here, isn't it, from Samjonov? Who's come up with plenty of intent. Nice sharp punches.
Look for the 1-2 there. He's just been stopped once, Samjonov, and that was by Sangarov, Hussein Bysangarov, who was 10-0 at the time. Khamkhoev yet to score a stoppage in his career.
But you can already see why, can't you, with Khamkhoev? Because when he throws the shots, he's already looking to move back. Even when he's attacking, it's almost a defensive move in itself. A good right hook there from him.
His last fight, Khamkhoev, was against...
Sorry, please.
His last fight, Khamkhoev, was against a fighter we saw last night, actually, Viktor Plotnikov. He was 33-7 at the time. That was points over 6 rounds. Samjonov, I think, is going to show a bit of ambition here by the look of it, and just kind of half thrown to the canvas there by Khamkhoev.
Good footwork there from Khamkhoev.
So round 1 down, the schedule for 8.
Well, if Samjonov can keep that pace up and keep the pressure on, I think he's going to make it a hard night here for Khamkhoev. I think Khamkhoev counters quite nicely, and it looks like that's his style. He's fleet-footed. Quite unlucky not to get the knocked on there, really, isn't he? It's not, it's not.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, because I don't think he was hurt at all. Samjonov, but it was still a shot.
Yeah, he is unlucky. It was a punch that started it, definitely, and then they kind of came together and he ended up on the floor. But if a punch starts it, then really you should get it.
Seconds out. Pavel, round 2.
Well, Samjonov, he's always going to be the aggressor, and that's means he's always going to get a bit of success, but he is a little bit route one, isn't he? So you know where he's coming from at all times. There's no disguise to his work. He'll have a little feint now and again with a good shot there from Khamkhoev.
It was, wasn't it? Because Samjonov was just looking to try and land that jab, and he really got his head snapped back as Khamkhoev just stepped in and snapped it straight down the middle. He kind of flies in from distance, Samjonov. As you said, it's not difficult for Khamkhoev to see him coming.
He's a little feint, I think, Khamkhoev. Just every now and again, I throw a little feint before you throw the shot. Samjonov is, he's sort of always looking to dart in with fast combinations. So if you little feint him, he's always cock ready to go. So you might just pull the trigger too soon, and you've got him then over the front foot and exposed. Good shot.
He's got good sound technique, Khamkhoev, hasn't he? He's nice and balanced. He gets caught there just as I say that, but he's nice and balanced. He comes in and out with the feet. Those feet never get too close together. The distance between them's usually, it's very uniform.
Yeah, he slides in out of distance quite well. Careful, don't lift that chin up a little bit too high, that's all. Especially when he's changing direction.
Good solid shot to finish the round. Really was, and he was coming onto it too there, Samjonov, so you could just see him. You could just see almost a kind of a shiver go down him as the impact of that registered on him.
But he's moving well here, Khamkhoev, isn't he? He's boxing nice, like you said, he's got a lovely balance to his work. And I think, Samjonov, this is probably the worst sort of opponent for him, isn't it? Someone like Khamkhoev, who's just constantly a moving target, never willing to really overcommit with anything. And that's where, Samjonov might just get a little bit frustrated, maybe start attacks when they're not really there.
Seconds out. Третий раунд. Round 3.
So into the third, Albert Khamkhoev, who is 3-0. He is in the... Well, they're both wearing black and gold shorts. Khamkhoev has got the red gloves on. He's boxing out of the southpaw stance. And Pavel Samjonov, 24 wins, 14 defeats, 2 draws. He's got the blue gloves on. And Khamkhoev has shown some glimpses of real quality in those opening couple of rounds.
Because he's always looking, as soon as he throws a shot, he's already sliding back out of distance, which makes him a nightmare to fight against, because he got that wide stance, but he sometimes can close the gap quick to let his punches go or fly in with that left hand. But then he's sliding out already, so you can see why he doesn't get stoppages, because he's not fully committing to the shot. He's also a nightmare to try and hit back on the counter as well. That's where you got to quicken your feet up, and usually the double jab will help you close the gap. For Samjonov, if he wants to get closer, then stab with the jab, double jab, get a bit closer, and then bang away to the body. Got a guy who's fleet-footed. You got to work that body, try and slow those legs down if you can.
Well, they both traded left hands there. I think the left from Samjonov maybe landed a little bit more solidly than Khamkhoev's, but Khamkhoev is looking to put a little bit more behind his punches in this round. He stepped in with a bit more intent a couple of times. Good left hand there.
Yeah. Good reactions, haven't he, as well? That's what's the thing about him. He sees the gap straight away. Just sees it and throws. Good real fast reaction time. Again there, lovely left hand.
He just seems to be warming to this a little bit. Maybe he's had a look at Samjonov in the first couple of rounds and has decided that he can afford to be a bit more positive, to commit a little bit more. That was a decent jab there from Samjonov. Looked for a big right hand.
Yeah, it wasn't far off, was he, either? The reason he almost got success there, because he took the left foot on the outside. When he went forward, the left foot went on the outside, which means Khamkhoev then was lined up for that right hand. Didn't quite come off, but it was the right idea. And also if he knew that he did that, but I think coming forward against a southpaw fighter, that's the way forward. You can take that left foot on the outside and real step across.
I always find that discussion about how to box a southpaw as an orthodox fighter quite an interesting one, because I've heard some different theories from different people, and the accepted way is to do what you just said there and try and get your lead foot outside their lead foot, because that opens you out, doesn't it? If you go down the centre with that lead foot, and I have heard a few people say that is what they feel is the more effective way to do it, then you've got to get quite a big turn in, I guess, to throw that right hand. Is that what makes it hard?
Yeah, well, not so much you've got to get a turn to throw. You have to turn to throw it. And when you turn, you square your body up. And also, what you're doing then, you're turning and you're squaring up to their right hand, their backhand. That's what you're doing there. You're stepping inside there. You've got to punch over the jab and make them turn onto your backhand. I think that's what you have to do. But, some people can get away with it because they're fast hands or fast feet, or the way they throw the shots, different angles. They got long arms or whatever. You get people can. It's not a set in stone method, but it's the safest way. I would say.
Into the fourth round, Khamkhoev with a left down to the body, just bouncing on the balls of his feet. Samjonov trying to keep that head on the move as he tries to just close the gap there and get into range himself.
Good shot, good right hand. That's good there from Samjonov. To be fair, well, he's been committed on the first bell.
Khamkhoev didn't like that as they came towards each other as they slipped into a clinch in the middle there. He just kind of bumped his chest against him, and they started to have a chat to each other. The referee just getting in and stopping that. Good left hand on the inside there from Khamkhoev, and Samjonov ends up going down, but that's no knockdown. And this is interesting. There's a little bit of niggle in there now, and it's making things just that little bit more exciting.
Well, he didn't get knocked down by the shot, but he got rocked by that left hook. He felt it. You could see it. Got caught throwing. I think that just makes it worse, of course. That was good from Khamkhoev, because usually he's throwing his shots and moving away, but this time he thought, I'll just plant my flag here a little bit and commit.
Well, I think Samjonov has irritated him, and for that reason he's just decided to be a bit more aggressive, or you could argue that he hasn't really decided, that he's slightly lost his rag, and it's not necessarily the best way to go, but for us it's working nicely. Well, Samjonov just doubling up on the jab there. Yeah, he got through, didn't he? You could just see the head. You see the head move there of Khamkhoev.
I think it was partially blocked, but it was a good little, rather than throw the straight right, just dipped it, twisted the hand and screwed it up. Good shot. But as you mentioned already, the last round, Khamkhoev, he's warmed to it now, hasn't he? A little bit more. He's won everything anyway, but I think he's warmed to it, and he's feeling more comfortable to sit in a pocket or to stand a little bit closer and mix it up.
Little bit of a stare there from Khamkhoev towards Samjonov midway through this one. He's boxed 16 rounds in his 3 fights so far, Khamkhoev. He's done 6 a couple of times, 4 on the other occasion, so the schedule for 8. That's not a distance he's been just yet. It would be good to see him continue in this kind of aggressive vein in the second round of the fight. That was a good left hand on the inside.
Yeah, no, I don't think he should just go all out and be aggressive. No, I think he can still win that way, as he's already, I think he showed in that round. But yeah, when he does attack, just rather than looking always to pull out, just stay there, or roll a little bit, or dip a little bit, rather than just pull out all the time. I think that was he can come back there with heavier shots. He can plant his feet with the original attack, and I'll give more purchase on his punches. Pretty much all the things I never did.
Round 5.
So into the second half of this one, scheduled for 8. Super welterweight. Albert Khamkhoev with those red gloves on. Pavel Samjonov with the blue gloves. And Samjonov has brought plenty here. He always comes to give it a crack. He always comes to try and get the victory if he can, although on the road that's been difficult for him. Just bombing with a big overhand left there. Khamkhoev saw that one coming.
Yeah, you're going to need a bit more intelligence in your work, aren't you, to catch Khamkhoev with something like that. I think you just... I still think that Samjonov needs a double jab to close the gap.
Just led with the right hand there, Khamkhoev. Wasn't really a jab as such. Almost got through with it.
That's a good shot. See, just the pace is just slow, just a little bit, and just making it a little bit easier for Khamkhoev to hit the target. It's a lovely shot. Oh, gum shield.
Well, what's happened there? The gum shield has come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nor did I, because they just stopped and started to talk to each other in the centre of the ring, and then the referee finally got involved, but the gum shield came out in this near corner. I mean, that really would have been odd.
But he called Khamkhoev over, and Khamkhoev pretty much said, I was the one who threw the punch. It's his gum shield. You haven't hit me.
Yeah, the referee was getting slightly confused there. Looking for that left hand there, Khamkhoev just turning as he threw it, moving off to his left-hand side.
Just needs a bit of successes, isn't he, Samjonov? He hasn't had really success for a few rounds now. Prior to that, he was getting outboxed, but every now and again he'd land with a couple of good shots, but can't really think of anything that's landed of note from him for a while.
No, when he's found himself picked off by those kinds of combinations. That was a lovely straight left hand. Samjonov just steps in and tries to just disrupt things because Khamkhoev was getting on a bit of a roll there. He got through with 3 or 4 good clean punches. And you're right, Samjonov's not really hitting anything the last round or so. Earlier in the fight he was making contact with shoulders with gloves, but he's finding Khamkhoev a slippery target.
Another good round there for Khamkhoev. Boxing very nicely, isn't he? So really, that's been his best shot actually, having that jumping in with that left hand from out the distance where Samjonov thinks he's safe, and all of a sudden Khamkhoev fires in with that lovely timed left hand lead. And you sort of feel like the pattern's set now, don't you? Just can't really see how lovely bodywork there from Khamkhoev. You just can't really envision right now what we've seen, and Samjonov really changing the sort of the pattern of the fight. Can't see what he has in his arsenal to do that.
No, I would agree. Khamkhoev has bit by bit just got to grips with him to the point now where Samjonov, as we said, is struggling really to get any kind of measure on him at all. Khamkhoev putting together some nice punches, showing some good variety. Wouldn't appear to have the power to take Samjonov out. The reasons for that have been well illustrated by yourself. But he's good to watch. He's got some good skills. It'd be nice to see him, as I said, just look to raise the tempo a bit. He doesn't need to do anything crazy here, though. He's used to boxing in rounds. I think he's probably anticipating that during the course of his career there aren't going to be too many stoppages coming his way.
No, but that's fine as long as you train for the rounds, and you know, and you're used to. For most part, when you're not a puncher, you usually have to fight at someone else's pace, which I have to do. So you have to be a little bit extra fitter, cardiovascularly fit, especially because you know the tempo's going to be forced and produced by the other guy. So you have to just your breathing has to go up and down erratically. You have to get used to that very quickly. But it's something that can be overcome. Of course, you can get through it that way. And sometimes you find you almost feel comfortable with allowing a guy to lead, dictate the pace, because you feel quite clever when he thinks he's bossing it, and you're sort of putting him in his place.
Just looking for the body with the left hand there. Khamkhoev got slightly too close. It was a good left hand. He just dipped to his right hand side and then just shot it straight, slightly off to the left almost, and it just seemed to catch Samjonov by surprise slightly.
Good body shot there as well from Khamkhoev. He's boxing very nicely.
There's that straight left down the middle. It's amazing, the southpaw backhand, as a lot of people call it. It seems to be almost kind of bewitching, because often it doesn't, or wouldn't appear to do anything particularly special, but it's amazing how often it just snakes through that guard.
I think it's because you struggle to find a home with your jab when you're fighting the southpaw. So you're so after that, you're so ethical up thinking, trying to overcome that problem, that you forget about sometimes things, anything else coming your way, and then they just sneak you through. But after a spirited first few rounds here from Samjonov, it's been pretty much quite easy. The last two rounds have been too comfortable, I thought, for Khamkhoev. Works really well. It's all he's doing, by the way. He's made Samjonov miss with every shot, pretty much, and he's slowed the pace, and now he's bossing it with so much ease. Boxing really well.
And it's been interesting to watch him do that, to kind of spend a couple of rounds, if you like, taking in that data that your opponent gives you, processing it, and coming up with the best method to nullify him. Because early on, as you said, he would kind of fly in from distance, look to get right on top of him, throw punches from wherever he could, really. But from halfway, particularly, he's been made to miss a lot. And that's just emptying the tank of Samjonov. And I wouldn't say he looks disconsolate in there. He's a fairly ebullient character, but at the same time, he's run out of ideas, and I think he's aware of that.
Yeah, well, the fact that early in the rounds when he had a bit of energy about him, then he was a little bit hard. He was flying in with attacks and having a little bit of success, but now he's slowed down. It's made it easier for Khamkhoev to read him. That's been the problem. He can read everything he's doing now, so everything's quite comfortable for Khamkhoev, sorry. I don't know who Camelhead is.
Well, the lace was untied there on the boot of Samjonov, so just a little break, heading up towards the halfway point of round 7. 2 more fights to come for you after this one. We've got one at light heavy and another one at super welter, scheduled for 8 and 10 rounds. This is episode 4 of Siesta's Kold Wars, coming to you from Minsk and Belarus from the Diamond. Myself and Barry Jones are coming to you remotely. One of us is in East London, one of us is in West London. I can't help but think that really next time this happens, we should be going to Belarus at least once, Barry, as Khamkhoev lands a nice straight left hand down the middle there. Steps in looking for another one, but just got slightly over-eager and got caught himself.
Well, maybe if Al does a show, Siesta does a show over maybe in London or Southampton, we'll fly to Belarus and do it remotely from there.
Oh, that sounds like a splendid idea. To step in with that left hand, was short with it, but then just kept coming, and that was decent from Samjonov. Khamkhoev was just loading up a bit there, and he made him miss 2-3 times.
Bit too close, wasn't he? Khamkhoev should just a little half a step back. He tried to chop down with that right hand, but he was a bit too close, and he sort of had to pull back on himself. Kind of second wind here, hasn't he, Samjonov?
Yeah, I think the last minute or so has given him some encouragement, because Khamkhoev has looked to land some bigger shots. He's kind of departed from what has been his game plan up until now, and it hasn't really worked for him. So that's probably the most successful round that Samjonov has had for a little while. He didn't really land too much, but at the same time, when Khamkhoev really looked to try and increase the power, if you like, he wasn't able to do it.
Yeah, he took less in that round, didn't he, than he had for the last maybe 3 or 4 rounds, which is an encouraging sign. Look, he got a little bit of a second win, a bit more energy in his work. He didn't do enough to win the round for me, but it was good to see that he might finish the stronger and give Khamkhoev just a little bit more of an argument in this last round.
Just went looking for him there in that round, didn't he, Khamkhoev? And it looked slightly clumsy and awkward for the first time, really. He's been nice and slick. I mean, does it at any point begin to play on your mind as a pro fighter if you can't get stoppages? If he doesn't get one in the final round here, Khamkhoev, that'll be 4 fights, 4 wins, no stoppages. I mean, I don't think that it's really indicative of too much often, because it depends who you've been in with, really.
But it does, and I think it depends on how hard you match. You know, I think if early on you get some hard matches, then you just learn to win and not worry about. And especially when if you're young, you just straight from the amateurs, and you'll just adopt that style over the longer rounds because you know it's successful. That's what I sort of did. I was having decent matches, not world beaters, but good domestic matches early on in my career. And then you get stuck in that mode, of course. And you need a strong trainer to change you. That's a good left hand there. Khamkhoev. But yeah, everyone wants to get stoppages. Of course you do. I understand that. But you know, I only had one, didn't I, in 20 fights? It's almost embarrassing. But it didn't stop my route, of course, to a decent level. Because you just, this is who I am. You learn to adapt, and you hone the skills that you have, like punchers who can't box, or people who can't take a punch. You work on the things you're good at, and try and also work on the things you're not so good at, if you can. But ultimately, you box to your strengths, whatever that may be.
I think that's a really important point, actually, because when I look at sport in general, not just boxing, I think there is always a big temptation with coaches to spend too much time trying to strengthen weaknesses, and it comes at the expense of strengths. If you have a particular strength, then you need to sharpen that as much as you possibly can, because that might be what sets you apart.
Yeah, I think if you're clearly not good at something, I think then you might sometimes have to bin it. It's always good to work on stuff, but sometimes you have to go, I can't waste time on that, because that's going to deter my progress in the things that I'm good at. You can sometimes, it might sound foolish at times, that, but I think at some point you have to just go, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, and let's just make this be the very best of that, rather than anything else. And that's sort of what I did. I could punch a little bit, but I just thought, well, every time I plant my feet, I'm giving the other guy an opportunity to hit me, and I don't like getting hit. A bit like Khamkhoev here, he doesn't like getting hit, and he's good at making you miss. He slides in out of distance. You can see he has weight in his shots. You can see he could punch a little bit, and he will get stoppages. But his natural inclination is to throw the shots and get safe.
Good straight left hand there from Khamkhoev. Well, I can't claim that there are many things that I understand about being in the boxing ring, but a natural and healthy dislike of getting hit is definitely one of them. Bell goes at the end of the 8 rounds, and Khamkhoev was just looking to try and finish with a bit of a flourish there. And that was a decent watch overall. Samjonov was lively early on, but then, as you said, Khamkhoev got a good read on him. And he's neat and tidy to watch. He's got some decent skills.
Yeah, he's good to watch. I like him.
Set the world alight. He's decent.
Well, as he set the world alight, but he has plenty of ability, plenty of skill, and I think there's enough pop in his punches to earn your respect. And I sort of say that to people who are not meant to be big punchers, that if you can punch hard enough to stop that guy walking through you, then that's enough, maybe. If you're very, very good at all the other stuff, the movement, the missing, that's enough. Floyd Mayweather, he's a naturally a small guy, but at welterweight and light middleweights and all those weights he boxed at above his natural weight, he could punch hard enough to stop you from walking right through him, and he ended up being the best boxer on the planet for a long time.
Well, Samjonov has gone the distance on the road again. He's done that all but once. The 15 times that he's boxed outside of Estonia. You can see why he gets work, because he obviously trains hard. He obviously stays in the gym. He's in sensational shape there, really.
And he'll beat fighters still now. You can see it. You know, I mean, some good prospects, because he starts off fast, and you know, and if you don't sort of like put him out of his rhythm, it can be a hard night for you.
It's now the time for the judge's decision. Judge 1, Sergei Krivitsky, 80-73, 80-73. Judge 2, Vladimir Kovalenko, 79-73, 79-73. Judge 3, Nikolai Veselov, 79-74, 79-74. Единогласным решением судей, by unanimous decision, the winner is red. Победу одержал боксер красного угла, Khamkhoev.
So Khamkhoev gets a decision, as we knew that he would, but he got a little bit of change on the cards there. Samjonov got one round with one judge, a share of a round with another, and a round and a share of another one with the third. So he got some reward for his efforts. And Khamkhoev, he's a slick fighter. He's got some good skills, as we were outlining during the course of that fight. He's still early in his professional career. Just 4-0 now. So there is definitely potential there. And again, he's another fighter that I'll look forward to seeing again. I think we're going to get our next fight of the night in the ring fairly swiftly. Next up is an 8-rounder at light heavyweight between Ali Ismailov and Yevgenii Makhtelenko.
The Kold Wars fight, Siesta and Siesta boxing.
Well, just a brief interlude. I'm sure it will be pretty brief before we get that next fight in the ring, featuring a fighter actually who's been over to the UK a reasonable amount, Ali Ismailov, not for any fights, but he's had a couple of camps over in the UK. He's been trained by Gennady Gordienko, who used to train Luther Clay, who's in action against Chris Kongo at the Matchroom Fight Camp on August the 22nd, same night as Dillian Whyte against Alexander Povetkin. Whilst we've got a minute, Barry, actually, we raised that earlier on, and it is going to be quite some spectacle seeing those two go at it in those kind of surroundings, because you really will be able to hear the punches land from those two without any kind of crowd in. And the pair of us actually spoke to Dillian earlier on, and he's over in Portugal, and he looks in good shape as always. He looks nice and relaxed, but what he's done here is what he's done for the last couple of years at least now, which is just step up, take on another big fight and roll the dice, put it all on the line.
Well, it's almost like the boxing gods don't want him to get a world title shot. So we just, because this is not like a tune-up fight, waiting for his shot or waiting for his title chance. This is a hard fight, maybe the hardest fight that he's had, excluding Joshua. Well, maybe harder than Joshua, because Joshua wasn't the Joshua he is now back then. So, you know, it's a Povetkin is not the Povetkin he maybe once was, but he's still good enough. He's heavy-handed, he's clever, you know, he has a wealth of experience, and you know, and also Dillian, as he said himself, he gives fighters opportunities because he's so gung-ho with his work. He loves to tear up, he wants to get involved, he doesn't want to be known as a fancy Dan. So it makes it I fancy him to win, but it makes it a really intriguing fight. And when you hear those big guys whacking those shots in, it'll be a reality check for some people sat at home how brutal it can be at the highest level with these big guys.
Oh, absolutely. I remember last summer before his fight with Oscar Rivas, I went up to see him in Loughborough and I put on the body belt at the end and just had a little bit of a mess around with him, really. And I reckon he hit me at the time. I said maybe 50%. I don't think it was 50%, to be honest. Probably more like about 35, 40. And it was a brand new belt, which was great. But wow, it didn't actually hurt, weirdly, because they're well designed, those things. But the force of it is something else. And to watch it up close on any night is great. But to see it up close on a night where there's no crowd in, and essentially it'll be like watching two huge super heavies go at it in a top international amateur tournament. It's going to be absolutely mad. But our next fight is on its way in. 8 rounds at light heavyweight. Ali Ismailov and Yevgenii Makhtelenko making their way into the ring. Now Makhtelenko, born in Ukraine, now boxing out of Prague, has been in the away corner on a good number of occasions and has had some good wins, actually, and taken some good fighters the distance. He's been 10 with Dimitri Bivol, 8 with Igor Mikhalkin, and made his way into the 12th with Karo Murat before he got stopped. He's taken this one on a couple of weeks' notice.
And now, his opponent from the Republic of Ingushetia, Russia, Ali Ismailov.
Well, Ismailov, as mentioned, has been over to the UK a fair bit. He's done some sparring with the likes of Joshua Buatsi and Dan Aziz, both of those two in action soon, hopefully. He's won all 3 of his fights so far, Ismailov, and he's actually moved pretty quick in his second fight, which was back last October in Riga. He stepped up to 6 rounds against the former world title challenger in Dmitry Sokołowski and got the win on points. And then in his last fight, mid-March, before lockdown came into effect around Europe, he beat an 18-1 Sergei Ekimov, and that was points over 8 rounds, so stepping up through the rounds fairly rapidly. It'll be interesting to see what he's got tonight, because Ekimov was progressing well. He was 18-0, and then he lost to Rikard Bolotnik, a defeat that wasn't supposed to happen, and then Ismailov handed him his second consecutive loss.
It's now time to introduce to you the boxers. Украинский нокаутер в синем углу. Ему 33 года. Его рост 182 сантиметра, вес 81 килограмм 500 граммов. В его активе 10 побед, в том числе 8 нокаутов и 13 поражений. Прямиком из Праги. Introducing first, Ukrainian puncher, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands at 5 feet and 11.5 inches tall. He weighed in at 181 pounds and 9 ounces. At 33 years old, he currently holds a professional record of 10 wins, 8 knockouts and 13 losses. From the city of Prague, Czech Republic, Yevgenii Makhtelenko. Равноправие награды. Его непобежденный оппонент из России. Ему 27 лет. Его рост 182 сантиметра, вес 81 килограмм и 600 граммов. Его активе 3 победы, одна из которых одержана нокаутом. Из города Малговек, Республика Ингушетия. Across the ring, rising sensation. With a professional record of 3 wins, including 1 knockout. He stands at 5 feet and 11.5 inches tall. He weighed in at 180 pounds at 27 years old, representing the Republic of Ingushetia and Malgovec City, Russia. Remember his name. Ali Ismailov!
Well, great reception for Ismailov. I've got a lot of time for this MC, I have to say. I think he's great. Just dropping in the online there. Remember the name. Rising sensation, he described Ali Ismailov as. And, well, that does just whet your appetite to see exactly what he's got as the referee calls these two to the centre of the ring. That's Ismailov on the left-hand side there with the red gloves and the beard. Yevgenii Makhtelenko standing on our right as we look at it with those blue gloves. Andrei Chevelyov, the referee. So this schedule for 8 at light heavyweight. Straight to the centre of the ring, and the two just touch gloves. As I said, Ismailov has been matched hard so far, and he has moved quick. Just looking to try and land a jab, Ismailov, isn't he, early on? Not quite reaching with it.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how small the world is now? Because look at the style he's got. You'd think he was out of Brooklyn, wouldn't you, the way he's got that little shoulder turn, or Philly, you would say, really. That little shoulder turn there, and the left hand low. That's not what you normally see a Russian fighter, is it?
No, absolutely not. It, as you say, it is that kind of Philly shell as he just carries that left hand low, tucks up with that right, and just looks to ride punches by turning that lead shoulder and just showing his back ever so slightly. I've watched a lot of international amateur boxing over the last 10 years or so, and when you come through those Russian schools, Kazakh, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, the former Soviet countries, the style in a way hasn't changed all that much, and it's not what we're looking at here.
Just gotta be careful there, Ismailov. When he throws that jab, he just opens that right hand a little bit. I don't think it'll be a worry for him in this contest in particular, but just something looking when he goes forward, when he's moving forward, moving on.
That's a decent jab, just shot that one up from the waist. Makhtelenko turning southpaw. Just looking to mix things up a bit.
Yeah, but Ismailov, he's happy just to sit there, isn't he? He's sent in the ring and let Makhtelenko make that mistake. Good right hand, solid shot. He hasn't thrown many shots, but the ones he have been well thought out.
Threw the jab there and then just took the weight back to avoid the right hand coming back from Makhtelenko. First round completed. As I said, this one's scheduled for 8 at light heavy. An interesting division, one that we've got particular interest in the UK due to a thriving domestic scene. As I mentioned, Ismailov has sparred with the likes of Kossobutsky, who, with a bit of luck, we'll see back in the ring 4-2-1 September time, hopefully, so he can reignite his career.
Oh, the UK light heavyweights. It's a tournament on its own, isn't it, really? Because you go right down to maybe 10 and 11 in the UK. Obviously, there's 4 maybe that stand out a little bit at the minute, but there's a list below that are not too far behind.
Well, we've got the golden contract semi-finals waiting to be completed. Not everybody in that is a UK fighter, because Sergei Michel and Ricard Bolotnik are in it, but Liam Conroy and Jose Burton are as well, and of course Callum Johnson, Anthony Yard, Buatsi as mentioned, Lyndon Arthur, I thought looked really good last Friday.
Yeah.
As Ismailov just looks to try and get on the jab at the start of round 2. Makhtelenko knows his way around. I gave you a list earlier on of fighters he's been the distance with. Bivol, Mikhalkin, that was earlier in their careers. He's 33 now, Makhtelenko. But he's had some decent wins as well against a 10-0 Sven Thornling, who challenged for the vacant IBF title against Turbiev a couple of years ago. I saw him box Dominic Bosel as well in Germany last year, and that was a terrific fight. Thornling suffered a serious injury off the back of it, unfortunately. But that's a significant win for Makhtelenko.
Ismailov is just, he's making Makhtelenko miss quite comfortable with ease, but now he's found that range, now he knows what's coming, and make those defensive movements work for you now. I think, you know, if he's making a miss with the jab, he should be firing that right hand over. Sometimes you forget. I know when you're looking pretty, making a guy miss, and it's great making somebody miss, and you feel really clever. You think it looks really flash, and it does. But you can sometimes forget to throw punches yourself.
Just put a bit of pep on that right hand there, Ismailov, looking at the 1-2. Makhtelenko managed to just pull himself back, so it wasn't quite at the biting point. But he looks like he's finding his range a bit here, Ismailov, and is looking to be a bit more expansive.
A good body shot there, wasn't there, for Ismailov? Good left hook to the body.
Again, just stabbing to the body with that left hand. Bell goes at the end of the second, and he quite noticeably increased the tempo, Ismailov, as the round progressed, really.
Yeah, when he let his hands go, Makhtelenko looked a little bit uncomfortable, didn't he? You could see physically he wasn't very happy with it. You know, he looked like he didn't know quite what to do or to defend it. But also the making Makhtelenko miss, that's gonna tire him out. And Ismailov here, just when he starts putting his punch together, looks a bit of a class act, and just like to see him maybe just carry on in that vein now at the start of this round. Left a little bit too late maybe in that round to make a real massive impression. But if he starts a bit earlier in this round, then I think you'll see Makhtelenko really start to tire.
Seconds out. Round 3.
It's the third they're scheduled for 8. Ali Ismailov in the silver, Yevgenii Makhtelenko in the black and gold, and Ismailov looking to land at the start of the round, and Makhtelenko looking to be a little bit busier himself. He's got to do what he can to disrupt the flow, hasn't he?
He has, but he's come up busier here, hasn't he, Ismailov?
Goes to the body with the right hand. Just shuffles forward with that front foot. That front foot is never very far away from you at all. Quite a wide stance, and he carries his weight more towards the back foot of it. So that front foot's all over you all the time.
It's good sustained work here. Slow but steady pressure.
Good lead left hand. And you can tell by the way that he reacts to Makhtelenko when these land on him. He's feeling them because they just move him a little bit. He's been cuffed around, basically, is how you would describe it. And then every now and again he just stabs down to the body there. And as you said, it's good, steady pressure. It's relentless. And Makhtelenko cannot really do much about it. He turns southpaw there just to try and confuse Ismailov more than anything else, and gets a ramrod right hand to the midriff for his trouble, and then another good right hand upstairs.
That was lovely time, that right hand there, just as he was trying to switch over there. Makhtelenko, that was a lovely Ismailov boxing really well here. Again with that left.
Well, still a minute to go.
Yeah, it's been a hard run. He's turned the screw from the bell here, Ismailov. And again, you don't really throw any sort of fast flurries, but it's a good, lovely uppercut. Really good shot.
Well, what's been impressive in this round is, I'm not claiming that Makhtelenko is the most elusive target in world boxing, but almost everything that Ismailov has thrown has landed. Almost everything. And landed pretty full on too. Again, another right hand there, and he is just systematically beating him up.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And you said the accuracy is really good, isn't it? He's not wasting anything. Good shot. And again.
Bell goes, a nod there from Makhtelenko. He's an experienced guy. But when you're on the road, it really was a hard round. And sometimes when you sit down in that corner, I would imagine if that's your role, you need to make a calculation about exactly how brave do I think I really need to be tonight at 33 years old.
Well, see, he never got a hammer in, but he never had no breaks. There was no rest in that round for him. And that's the hard side for him, and he thinks he's got to come out to that again. So it wasn't like one massive burst of attack where he took some really heavy shots and then had to survive and run away and hold. It was slow, like I said, slow, steady pressure. There was no break at all for him. He couldn't catch his breath. And like you're saying, you get a little bit older, you might think, oh, well, the desire is not as great.
And Ismailov just always maintaining that distance. He never shuts himself down, so there's not really the opportunity to reach in and grab hold of him and get into a clinch and buy a bit of time that way.
Well, you've already said it pretty much. You got that wide stance, but the wide stance is the front foot's gone wide, not the back foot. So you're always threatened by that front foot. But you think he's sat on the back foot. He's actually sat in the centre of his stance, just his left foot's further out. So he has that little bit of range to lean back again as well. So you think he's on you, but actually you can't reach him with the tag because he just, the foot's out and you see the target and just leans back onto the back foot. So even when he leans back, he's still on balance. Rather than being sat on that back foot already, and you've got nowhere to lean back further. And he's doing just that.
Makhtelenko tried to come back with a couple of right hands there, but not really able to land them.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to say what Makhtelenko should do, really, isn't it? Because good shot. Because I don't think he's capable of doing some of the things that would maybe make the fight a little bit easier for him. I think it's pretty much what you see is what you get.
Just dipping away to his left-hand side there, Ismailov looking for the uppercut. Didn't quite land, but he's just looking to add a few more punches to the repertoire, really. Early on, just happy to set up the right hand, look for the jab, look for the left hand to the body.
still boxing well here, Ismailov, but the pressure hasn't been so as intense as it was in the previous round. Good shot.
Into the final 30 seconds of round 4, just snuck through with a nice crisp uppercut, driving Makhtelenko back towards the ropes.
Oh, lovely.
That was a nice right hand.
Yeah, real cute.
He's been looking for that this round, hasn't he? As I said, he's been looking to be a little bit more expansive. Maybe just practice a few of the things he's been working on in the gym.
So I think that's exactly what he's doing, Andy, to be fair. Good round.
So midway through this one. I mentioned that performance by Lyndon Yard against Dex Spellman last Friday, and hopefully that will set up that fight against Anthony Yard. Lyndon Arthur, yeah. Hopefully that will.
Lyndon Yard, you said it was
Lyndon Yard. Imagine
you're
what
so
kind
eager
of
to
a
see that
fighter.
fight. Oh yeah.
So I'll start again. That performance from Lyndon Arthur on Friday was good against Dex Spellman, and hopefully it will now set up that fight against Anthony Yard, because that was scheduled for April the 11th on the original Dubois-Joyce card, and of course we all know what happened, but I really, really want to see that.
Yeah, and I do as well. We've already spoken about this, haven't we, on the show before last, I think, where it'll be the best win for Yard if he were to win the fight. It's not the best guy's beating him. He could cover Kovalev by a million miles, but it would certainly be, even though he starts a favourite, it would certainly be his best win. So, I think, and I think also, Dex Spellman, that win, can you think of a better Yard win? I mean, not the way Yard has won, but I mean, on paper.
No, probably not in terms of opponents, so sure. And that's...
Yeah, so it makes it interesting, doesn't it? I think he still starts a favourite and I would sort of fancy him to win, but yeah, I don't think he'll have it all his own way. But Yard's a good fight. So he proved against Kovalev that he's a good, that he's got lots of real good things to his game.
So nearly a minute into round 5, into the second half of the fight here. Ali Ismailov in the silver, Yevgenii Makhtelenko in the black and gold. Ismailov, who's moved quick in his pro career so far. He's 3-0, but he stepped up from 6 to 8 rounds already. This is not his first 8-rounder. That was in his previous fight, and he's been in with some good opposition. So they have high hopes for him.
Just landed a lovely chop with right hand just a few seconds ago, Ismailov.
Bit of blood coming from the nose there of Makhtelenko.
That's good work.
Left to the body and then goes upstairs with the left hand. And when he gets hit to the body, Makhtelenko, he does just seem to wilt a little bit.
Turning the screws here,
he is, yeah, he's putting his punches together nicely here. Minute remaining in round 5. And he's just bouncing that head around at the minute. The referee's just having a good look there, and he should be, because now is not exactly when he needs to jump in, but that moment might not be that far away if Ismailov just keeps up the pressure here, because nothing's coming back, and he's looking fairly hapless here, really, Makhtelenko. You get the feeling he could be about to come apart. And the referee has done the right thing, I think, there, because with 30 seconds to go, as you said, Barry, he was just turning the screw. That was the perfect phrase, and the pressure was mounting, and it was only heading one way for him. He was managing to stay on his feet, but those were heavy concussive shots that were raining in on him, and all that awaited him, really, if he managed to get through the 5th, was 3 more rounds of that.
You know, it was a good performance, actually. I think the first round and a half, I thought, oh, he's clever, but he's looking to be just too clever, not actually looking to maybe do enough work. But turned that round. I think the last few rounds that he really turned the screws. The educated pressure, the accuracy in his work was really good. And even though I don't think he's a KO artist by any means, I think he's heavy enough handed, and the accuracy, because of he's so accurate with these shots, that they do take effect. They really do. And Makhtelenko there, you know, you could just see this round here. He got into a couple of shots and he almost turned away himself voluntarily. That was hard. That ended up being a very hard fight where he was just in it, you know, and just getting picked off. It ended up being a bit of a torrid last couple of rounds for him. That was good. That was a good display. What's that? His fourth fight now, and you know, it's not bad going. That was a mature display there of dismantling an opponent.
He's a kind of fighter who, when you look at him, you get the feeling that at the age he is, which is perfectly young enough to make a good assault on a high level. He's 27. He knows who he is and what he is as a fighter. We were talking about it previously, that you play to your strengths and decide what you are and fight that way. And I don't think there's any confusion from him about what he is. He does things quite simply. He's not looking to do anything massively flash. He's got that nice balanced stance, as we said. His setup is organised.
Ladies and gentlemen, на второй минуте 33 секунде пятого раунда рефери остановил поединок. On the second minute, 33rd second of the fifth round, referee stopped the fight. And the winner by technical knockout. И победу техническим нокаутом одержал боксер красного угла. The winner is Red Ali Ismailov.
And as we've been outlining, that was a good performance from Ismailov. Now moves to 4-0. And that was a getting back in the groove kind of fight post-lockdown, which is perfectly acceptable. But I think given the kind of fighters he's been in with already, they will look to try and get him a greater challenge than that next time out, if they can, of course.
Yeah, I think he's the sort of kid that I think you could, he's stepped him up a little bit already in his career. I think he's the guy who can keep that step up with him now. He's moved. Let's not rush too far and be too silly with him, because I still think some of the moves he does he can get caught with. But yeah, I think that performance there, I've got maybe another guy who's a little bit more durable. Yeah, I think there's enough to like about him. He boxed really well.
And next fight up will be 10 rounds at super welterweight between Ismail Illiev. 15 fights, 12 wins, 2 defeats and 1 draw. And Asinia Byfield, 16 fights, 14 wins and 2 defeats. So those two, in terms of their records, would appear to be fairly evenly matched. Illiev isn't somebody we know an enormous amount about, but he does have a win against Sergei Rabchenko, a former European champion who he beat over 10 rounds in 2018. So that's not too long ago. In his previous fight, Rabchenko was in with Kell Brook, of course, and was still seen as a live, dangerous opponent for Brook, who looked sensational that night, actually demolishing him in a couple of rounds. And Byfield we're more familiar with, of course, and you were there for his really big win, Barry, which was against Sam McNess in July 2018, and it was quite something, that, because McNess was the promoter's fighter, the backed fighter, the former star amateur, if you like. He had everything going for him, it seemed, and Byfield was there to be a name for him to put on his record, and that really is not what happened.
No, well, Byfield came into the ring almost, and I don't want to say this disrespectful to McNess, like, put this boy to school. That's what you could see in his face. He was almost disgusted that people thought that he was going to get beat. He was disgusted that people thought he was even going to be a competitive match, which it turned out not to be. He sort of hypnotised Sam McNess. I've got to be honest, he really did. He totally schooled him on boxing, and beat him up at times. So he was tremendous. He really was. because you watched him, you thought he's awkward, but someone put it on him and he might struggle. But he showed more than just being awkward. He was pretty skilled.
Please welcome, fighting out of the blue corner from the United Kingdom, straight out of Reading, Asinia, Byfield.
Well, here he comes. I covered one of his quite early pro fights on the Mickey Elliott show. Mickey used to manage him. I remember talking to him before that fight, so I got a handle on who he was and what he was about a while ago. And I've always found him an interesting character because he really does enjoy that kind of anti-establishment role. He really revelled in it, as you said, Barry, against McNess, and that is the kind of side of the tracks that he likes to be on. When he took on Ted Cheeseman for the British title later that year in the October, again he played on that role. He didn't even turn up to the press conference deliberately because he wanted to try and get inside Cheeseman's head. He was late for the weigh-in the day before the fight for no particularly good reason. He wasn't having any problem with the weight. He's a disruptor. He's the kind of fighter who enjoys the fact that he's got an awkward style. The problem with that is that allied with some ability means that it's not that easy to get fights. And since that failed British title bid against Cheeseman, he hasn't had a fight. He was supposed to have one with Ryan Toms, and that fell through. So it's not far off 2 years since he last boxed. But he put up a decent display against Cheeseman that night, went the distance over the 12 rounds. He just couldn't really make any kind of a dent in Cheeseman. That was the problem that he had.
One thing you'll be sure of, he won't be phased in this environment.
No, 100% not.
And now, please welcome his opponent, hailing from the Republic of Ingushetia, Russia, Ismail Illiev.
Well, I mentioned Iliev's best win earlier on. That was against Sergei Rabchenko. He does have a couple of defeats, but they were against good opposition. One was over in America against the now late Patrick Day. Lost a competitive fight that was as well, by unanimous decision over 10 rounds. And then a similar kind of scenario in March this year in Ekaterinburg against an 18-0 and rated fighter in Magomed Kurbanov. Boxing out of the away corner, went down in a second, but again, got some rounds, won some rounds with all of the judges over the 10 rounds. So there are similarities between these two, you would say. And I think this could be an interesting match.
Contest. Introducing first, boxer синего угла. В черных с небесно-голубой отделкой шортах. Ему 31 год. Его рост 180 сантиметров. Вес 70 килограммов, 400 граммов. Его активе 14 побед. Из них 6 нокаутов. 2 поражения. 3 легкого из города Reading. Великая Британия. Fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing black trunks with a light blue trim. Holding a professional record of 14 wins and 6 by way of knockout. And 2 losses. He stands at 5 feet, 11 inches tall. He weighed in at 155 pounds and 2 ounces. He is 31 years of age, coming all the way from Reading, United Kingdom. A pro kid to the ghost. Asinia! Byfield! Правда по диагонали. В красном углу боксер из России. Ему 27 лет. Его рост 177 сантиметров, вес 70 килограммов, 900 граммов. На профессиональном ринге он выходил победителем 12 раз. Дважды уступил 1 бой, свел в ничью. Из Назрани он представляет Республику Ингушетия. The fighter across the ring, all the way from the city of Nazran, Russia. He stands 5 feet and 9.5 inches. He weighed in at 156
So here we go, these two about to be called to the centre of the ring, and it's a good top of the bill this for the reasons that we've been outlining. Byfield's been out of the ring for a good while, but he will be itching to get back in there. And this is exactly the kind of challenge that he enjoys. Illiev choosing not to meet his eyes. They are called together by the referee. Quite a few fighters take that route. Not everybody wants to go eyeball to eyeball just before the bell goes. Byfield's got a height advantage there, as you could see. He's slim, he's wiry, he's got that kind of spidery strength. When you look at him, you do wonder how he manages to make the weight. But he's very, very disciplined.
And that's the puzzle, isn't it, for Illiev, is to get it, can he get inside that jab? Because he's going to have to slide inside those long levers there of Byfield and then work away.
And he does like to switch Byfield as well. You saw him do it there, and he's doing it again here. And he does it pretty well too.
And he does it from what distance, to be fair. He doesn't do it close, like with his foot's close there. He'll do it when he's on the move.
That's the safest way to do it, isn't it? Because it reduces the chances of you getting caught square mid-switch.
Yeah, I've never been...
It's something that...
People do it so well now. That's the thing. I've never been a lover of it. Also, especially when you switch stance, usually you can box well. If you're an orthodox, I can box well as a southpaw, but defend from a stance you're not used to being. That's when it's hard. So I used to tell people, if someone switches on you, jump all over them. But even though they can throw good shots, they can very rarely defend properly. That's sort of changed now, because through the amateurs now they're all switching and they're all used to it.
Just looking for the right hand there, Illiev. He's more taking the centre of the ring and then looking for the left hand to the body as well. Byfield's on the move, and Illiev just tracking him down towards the end of the second minute of this opening round.
Yeah, Byfield's been up to this point, he's been moving well, but he's got to make sure he keeps popping that jab out. Because Illiev did just land with a nice little left hook to the body there again.
And he seems keen, Illiev, here to try and get on top of Byfield in this first round. I think that he is of the opinion here that Byfield can't really hurt him. He's made a very quick assessment of that, if that indeed is what he's done, because he seems quite happy to an extent to try and walk through him. And it's quite early to be deciding that. But it does kind of look like that, doesn't it, into the last 30 seconds of the round?
It does. A couple of low left hooks there from Illiev there, just on the leg there of Byfield. Didn't complain, to his credit. Oh. Sloppy there from Byfield there, throwing that uppercut. Not really looking at the target when he threw it, and look, he didn't pay the price there.
The final few seconds of round one, and well, that's an interesting kind of opener, because, as I said, he's planted a bit of a flag there, Ismail Illiev, in the second half of that round. Certainly he's had a look, and he's wasted no time in making his assessment, I don't think, which is that he feels that he's going to go after Byfield.
He's going to have to, but the thing about it's so easy to cut the ring off against Byfield, but it's easier said than done, because he's always switching, he's changing direction. Sometimes he'll step into and then lean back as a defensive move. It's really awkward to track down. You sort of got to throw when he's throwing. I think when he throws, then you got to slip inside. And even then, he misses with that uppercut. It's real crude and sloppy from him. But then he throws that hook then straight after when he's off balance. He's very, very awkward.
Round 2.
popping that left hand there, Illiev, just looking to try and measure the gap, measure the distance through the right. Just about got there. Byfield just dipping to his right, looking for the right hand, throws his left and then moves on to the shoulder.
This is good for Illiev because he's throwing shots even when he's out the range almost, and then, but he's just not allowing Byfield to set any pattern to his work then.
Just working away on the inside with that uppercut. Byfield was just tucking up, wasn't he? But leaning in.
Yeah, but it's stopping Byfield from doing anything, trying to be too tricky because he's having to just defend.
And again, just looking for the body, goes upstairs with the uppercut, then goes downstairs, and this is good pressure from Illiev because he's nice and loose, he's nice and relaxed. It's not like he's loading up and putting an enormous amount of effort into these shots, but he is constantly throwing, just leaning onto his toes there and snapping in a nice 1-2. And as you said, Barry, it's difficult for Byfield really to get anything off here and do anything other than just retreat and try and defend.
Yeah, he's looking because he got those long levers. He needs a little bit of space, doesn't he, to start off the attack or start off a move. He's not allowed to get into any sort of rhythm. That's a good left hook there from Illiev. That's better there from Byfield. Oh, nice little right hand. Was able to get a bit of distance between the two and then let those long shots go.
Decent bit of upper body movement there from Byfield, but just gets caught by the uppercut there as he moved in and then looked to get that guard up.
Oh, good little dip to the shoulder there from Byfield and the left hook to the body. That's good for me. That's a lovely bit of footwork there from Illiev, just bouncing out of distance.
Illiev again just looking to try and dig to the ribcage. Byfield in the last minute or so has been more assertive because nothing was really going his way in the first 90 seconds, 2 minutes of that round, and he realised he needed to do something to try and disrupt the flow. But he's got his hands full here as Asinia Byfield because Ismail Illiev looks an accomplished fighter. He's nice and organised and economical, and a bit like the fighter we saw just before him. Most of what he throws is getting through.
Yeah, he's boxing well. There's not a lot of weight on the shots, to be honest. But I think if he's looking to get too much weight, it slows him down a bit and it allows Byfield to get into his groove. So I think he's doing the right thing, just keeping him busy, just keeping Byfield occupied about just blocking the shots. Just if he can drive into the ropes and do it, then maybe just land a few, start digging away a little bit heavier to the body. Just slow those legs down and that'll make it easier down the stretch for him. And Byfield's just got to get that bit, try and generate a bit of distance between the two, so we can get those awkward long shots into play.
Byfield looking to try and get that jab working a bit more at the start of round 3. And you look at the side on there, and as you said, he needs to keep that distance by using that jab. Leads off with a left hook that time. Throws a big right hand over the top. Decent left hand there for Byfield.
Oh, good.
Looking for the uppercut there. Looking for the uppercut. Illiev just kind of threw a right hand lead and toppled in after it a bit, and Byfield could see that, whipped that right hand up the middle. Didn't quite land it clean, but interesting this third round so far.
Nice little combination there though from Illiev. And he pass he hit with the right hand though, but the double jab was good.
Again, Byfield just leading off with the hook. This time with the right hand, boxing. There's a southpaw, decent jab there from Byfield.
Yeah,
needs a few more of those.
Well, there's about four instances now that he should have thrown that left hand there, Byfield, and he hasn't let it go.
Just fencing with that jab again there, Byfield, but Illiev, you could say the same thing. He threw a couple of lefts there, neither really got through. He does look for that kind of right-hand lead every now and again, Illiev, and square up a bit. It's not the best shot he throws, certainly. There's maybe a slight weakness that Byfield could exploit there. Right to the pit of the stomach from Illiev, then does the same job with the left. That was a better round for Byfield. I'm not sure he necessarily did enough to win it, but he threw more. He was more kind of proactive.
It's not exactly cagey from both, but it just seems everything they're throwing is probing rather than committed, if you understand what I mean. They're not really... Well, that was committed, to be fair, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but for the most part, for me, they just... No one's willing to really let their combinations go. They're just looking to make sure they don't get caught with anything back after they throw, because they know the opposite, the guy opposite them is quick at countering, so they're just probing for openings at a fast pace, to be fair.
No, that does make total sense, and it's interesting the way that Illiev's approach has changed a little bit, because in that first round he was quick to make his decision to really try and make some inroads. Byfield has responded as he had to try and make that puzzle a little bit harder to solve, and they're now kind of, it's almost like the fight started again in a way, and they're still exploring, still just looking for the best method. Illiev just trying to sort of rake down with the right hand. Does Byfield box better orthodox or southpaw, would you say?
Oh. I think orthodox for me. But obviously, you know, I understand the southpaw issue, because you tend to think that the guy struggles with to establish a jab. But I think when he's orthodox, his natural movement's better. Nice right hand there from Illiev. Again, lacked a bit of power, but it was accurate through the guard.
He got into good distance for it, didn't he? Just a little step in. It was good. Good kind of mid-range for him, and that's where he needs to be, really. But you put yourself in a little bit of danger when you step in there.
But his judgment of the distance is pretty good, Illiev, because he's a shorter fighter. More than being short, he has a much shorter reach, which is more important. But I think his judgment of the distance is pretty good, because I think that's the hard thing against Byfield, is to judge that distance, because he's got long arms, he throws unorthodox punches, and you're not always sure where they come from. The right hand again there from Illiev. Again, only touched the target, but it's a scoring shot. He's let his hands go a little bit here, Byfield.
One, two from Illiev, just hits gloves. Byfield just moving forward. He's just waiting a bit too long, isn't he? Because
he is.
That last 30 seconds, he's had a couple of chances there as he's walking in with those gloves up.
Well, he's almost like the guy with the shorter reach that he thinks he's got to get closer to into range to land. But I think he's trying to make Illiev work. I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to show some physical strength here. just got to be careful. Just because the punches are not hurting you, don't mean they're not winning the fight. I think that's the mistake some people make. And he's blocking most of these shots, but if Illiev's throwing 4 and 2 are getting through, or 1's getting through, he's still doing enough to win the round, possibly, if you're not throwing back yourself.
Illiev just slipping under Byfield's shoulder there. Then he just opened out and did try and put some power behind that left hand. Short right came in from Illiev and beat Byfield to the punch. Then he just flicks up a nice looking jab. And that is how he's winning these rounds, particularly the last 2 there, Illiev. I would say exactly how you just described it, Barry. Nobody's really landing anything big, but Illiev in this instance is landing more. And given that they're punching with kind of equal weight, if you're out landing, then you're probably winning.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is. Yeah, he's the busier of the 2 by far. And even though I think Byfield's not being hurt, so he's not worrying about these shots. But I think he's genuinely trying to walk Illiev down a little bit. But I think you still have to throw shots. Still got to try and win the round as well. But you're the corner say you're bossing it. And I can understand what they're saying. You know, maybe he's like the stronger of the 2, that he can walk him back and block everything. And most of the shots are being blocked, but not all of them. So I think for me, though, that puts Illiev in a decent lead going into the next round.
And this will be the 5th, Asinia Byfield in the black and white. Ismail Illiev in the solid black. Byfield, again, with a good couple of jabs there at the start of the round, and he does need to provide a bit more of that, because when he puts some snap into that, when he really just turns into it, he can get some power on it. And as you said, it's not just a height issue here, it's the fact that Illiev has actually got quite short arms, really, whereas Byfield is on the other end of the spectrum, so that the reach difference between them is pretty massive.
People always get carried away with the height. Height's a hindrance. It really is, because you can stand up tall, you're a bigger target to hit. It's all about the reach. Usually the long arms go with the tall fighter, of course, but not always the case. But it's the reach which is the most important. If you use it correctly, that is.
Illiev just varying the level of the jab there and then turned.
Yeah, the footwork was lovely there from Illiev.
Byfield trying to get that uppercut away on the inside. It's not quite working, and then again he's peppered to the body there. Then a right hand to the body, and he's just not able to get anything off here. Byfield, he's coming forward looking to try and set himself and throw, but before he could do it, he's hit with something.
There's the advice from the corner for Byfield, and I think that's right work. See, just throw long straight shots when you're walking forward.
As you said a round or so ago, it is strange to see him walk in, just like he did there, just walk in, almost to get into range, but he's easily within range at that point. With the gloves up, he's...
I think you're right. I think he's walking behind the punches. I think that would be more effective. And puts Illiev on the back foot, in defensive mode straight away, and then you can get, if you want to get close for the uppercuts, you've already occupied him by making him defend. For you getting that into that spot to dip your legs and drive through the middle. The thing is, he's even some of the shots that are getting through. That was a good shot from Byfield, right hand. But even some of most of the Illiev shots, they're being partially blocked, if not totally blocked. So I think Byfield thinks he's not going to hit at all.
Well, one thing he could be doing, of course, and you mentioned it earlier on, is he could be thinking, I'll make Illiev work, I'll get on him, I'll make him work, and he'll tire towards the end of the fight. And that's always a possibility, but the pace isn't exactly red hot. And as you said, Illiev doesn't really load up and look to put loads on his punches, so I don't think there's a lot of gas going out of the tank here for Illiev. I mean, we'll see, of course, but I doubt that there is.
And also, it's a 10-round fight, so you've got to be careful, because once you get to round 8, you as tired as you are, you can see the way home, so you get that second wind. Because mentally, you get stimulated. You're thinking, I'm almost there. If you're miles ahead, however hard the fight is. If it's a 12-round fight, you get to round 8. Those extra 2 rounds, they got massive difference psychologically, because you're a long way to go. The 2 rounds, you can grit your teeth. You feel. So you got to be careful. I think that all that. No. I think you put the grounding work in early, maybe for the later round. I understand that, but you still got to try and win the round. That's what it is. I always think that. Just win that round, and then worry about the next round when the bell goes.
Round 6.
So into the 6th here, so into the second half of the fight, and it's perfectly possible here that Illiev has got a 5-round lead. Looking for the left hand there, Byfield. Yeah. More power on that.
Oh, unlucky there for Byfield. It's the right idea there from Byfield. He was just a little bit too close to the target. Get that right hand off with effectiveness. Chop the right hand there from Illiev.
Looks for the uppercut on the inside off the back of the jab. A lot of these are hitting gloves, but as you say, he's keeping Byfield busy. And not a great deal for Byfield is getting through either. He just looked to try and chop down with the right hand there, but slipped over the shoulder of Illiev. He replies with 4-5.
Just smothering his own work, isn't he, a little bit, Byfield? He looks strong and relaxed. He's no pressure at all, I don't feel, but yeah, you can hear the corner, they want more work from him.
Tells a good story about sparring Gervonta Davis, Byfield. He went over to Las Vegas for some training about 3 years ago now. Says that he sparred Gervonta Davis, and the second day he came back to do it again, and they weren't interested because he'd given him such a schooling, and I've absolutely no idea whether that's true. I know it happened. I know the sparring happened, but it's... to
be fair, he's
definitely won.
However good Davis is, he's 5'5" or whatever he is, and super featherweight.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
to be honest.
So 30 seconds left in round 6. And it's been a similar round, this one, to the ones that we've seen before it. Illiev just working that little bit harder in terms of punches thrown.
That was good there from Illiev. So a 1-2, little half a step back and straight back again with another 1-2, and I think 3 out of the 4 shots landed. What's impressive about Illiev, he's not concerned. If he throws up the combination, if it doesn't land, it's okay, he just goes again.
I've always thought that's one of the things that, well, it's one of the many things that's really unusual about boxing, is that in most other sports you make a very deliberate movement, you make a very deliberate effort, and your intention is absolutely to make sure that if you swing your tennis racket, then you've really got to connect with the ball, because it's a total disaster if you don't. Whereas in boxing, you throw loads of punches, some will land, some won't. They're not heat-seeking missiles. You can't just look to throw one when you're absolutely certain it will land. It's a percentages game. And
well, the tennis ball don't move. You know where it's coming. It's not going to change direction in mid-flight. That's the difference. Whereas in boxing, that opponent, that target you're aiming for, might very well move. Usually he is always moving. Even if it's tipping down or turning away, whatever, it's moving. So you expect to miss. And also, because you've got a guy, someone's looking to fire back in the contact sport, sometimes you're willing to throw punches just to keep him occupied. He's mentally occupied before you get to the target. Yeah, you're right though. Not every shot is guaranteed success, and you accept that.
So lively start to round 7. Byfield started quickly looking to get on the jab, but then just finds himself on the end of a A 1-2 there from Illiev, who's just sticking that left glove, that right glove into his face, goes down to the body now.
That's a good little right hand there from on the switch there from Byfield.
Byfield was looking for the uppercut. I think he just managed to smother it there, Illiev.
Yeah,
that was a good right hand, though. Good timing and distance on that one. Then looks for the right hand kind of over the top again there. And he's had a little bit of success throwing those shots from the outside. It makes you wonder why he hasn't adopted that as more of a plan. It's easy for me to say because he's got somebody in front of him. And Illiev has worked hard, and Byfield has got him in a little bit of trouble here. Lands with the uppercut again there. A right hand sneaks in round the back of the guard, and Illiev is a little bit rocky still. Those legs aren't absolutely solid. You could see that. And Byfield just trying to pour the punches in, goes to the body with the left hand, and then just looks a little bit exhausted himself, actually, as he's backed up to the ropes. And he just doesn't have the gas to be able to continue with it because Illiev was in trouble. But Byfield there just seems to have punched himself out.
He had him on the hook there, Byfield. He was all but gone there, Illiev.
And now it's Byfield who seems in big trouble. Illiev just letting his hands go. His powers of recovery are good because he's now got his legs back underneath him, but he was in trouble there. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And Byfield went for it, but he just couldn't sustain it. And now he's just swinging from the hip there, Byfield, and well, he just looks totally and utterly spent heading into the final minute of round 7.
It's good for him. I've got to be honest. Great recovery here from Illiev because he was gone. I'm telling you, he really was gone. It's so disappointing though for Byfield, not with Byfield, because he had him, and then you just seen the tank just empty, didn't it? Literally,
it did.
He threw an extra punch, and he was just spent.
And he's got about 25 seconds to get through Byfield. He wears a big left hand there from Illiev. He is very, very tough. We've seen that throughout his career, and that did look a bit low.
Yeah, that's not
that
the
will
first
give him a
time
few seconds.
I've counted about 6 shots I've been below the belt here from Illiev in this fight.
Byfield being told to jab and move by the corner, but he's just needing to get through to the end of the round here and try and use that minute. Well, that was a mad round in many ways because he started well again, Illiev, but Byfield got to him, hurt him, as you say. He had him on the rack there and just couldn't quite capitalise. That uppercut just shoveled through the middle. It's that right hand that did the damage, and you see those knees dip, and at that point, as you say, Barry, he is all over the place. He's bang in trouble.
Look at the body shots there. That's lovely work there from Byfield. See the double hook to the body, and he just threw an uppercut just before that. Oh, get in there with that left hand. He did well to stay up there in the end. I've got to be honest, I think he was done. But Byfield just got so excited, put so much into it. I think that was the shot there. He missed with that shot, and all the energy just went right out of him. But literally, that's lovely body work. Oh, so disappointed for him because he was. I thought that what a finish this is going to be. All of a sudden, he's been totally outboxed because he hasn't done enough work, and he comes from nowhere and just gets a stoppage.
Well, he was right on the brink, wasn't he? That first right hand was an absolutely beautiful shot, and then some of the ones that he followed up with, that short left hand towards the end of it as well. And Illiev, as you said though, his powers of recovery let off the hook though. He may have been to an extent. His powers of recovery were pretty impressive there. And what has Byfield been able to do in that minute between rounds? As I said, in that fight against Ted Cheeseman, and I called that one, he showed huge toughness and durability to make that into a very competitive fight, certainly towards the back end when it looked early on like it might not be. He's got to try and gather himself here and see what he's got left, see what he can do.
As strange as it might sound, I think the effects of that round probably had more effect on Byfield than it did Illiev, amazingly. And the one who was hurt was most certainly the Russian.
Just stabbing to the body with that right hand, short right hand. It's just like a dagger into the pit of that stomach. Byfield just poking out with the left hand.
He's not ring fit, Byfield. I mean, he's fit, but he's not ring fit. He's not conditioned. He's made the weight and looks in shape, but that's why he hasn't been throwing the shots. It must be. You can see in that last round, it told it for me, because he just literally he missed with one shot, and you just seen him just exhausted, and that usually is a sign of conditioning.
Well, he hasn't boxed professionally for so long too, and obviously there's been the current situation, or the recent situation to deal with, but it was October the 27th, 2018, when he was last in a pro ring, and that's a really, really long time. He's looking for the right hand there, Byfield couldn't quite land it. He's still
Illiev.
He's still in there though, Byfield. He's still trying.
Oh, he takes a good shot, doesn't he? I don't think there's any dispute in that. He's tough.
Looking for that uppercut, but he managed to drop the elbows on it there, Illiev. It's been a good fight. It's been an interesting fight.
Good there from Illiev. Good work rate.
Just gets hold of Byfield and walks him back towards the ropes, and the bell goes at the end of the round. 2 more to go here. And it's been strangely absorbing, this fight, because Illiev, as I said at the beginning, seemed to make up his mind early that he could make an impression on Byfield. Byfield, as we know, is very, very tough. He could soak it up. But he wasn't picking up any rounds, and then he nearly changed everything in that 7th round, but couldn't quite get the job done, and then just faded. And then in that round, he just did what he could, really.
I think Byfield's not done. I don't think he's stopped done, because he's a tough kid. I think physically he's just knackered. I don't think he's got that gear now to go up.
No, I agree.
His conditioning's not there. And I feel sorry for him, because he's been having to stay on the sidelines for so long, because he's not a ticket seller, and his style doesn't suit anyone. No one wants to fight him because he's awkward. So this conditioning was never going to be the best, because he hasn't been in the ring often enough. But maybe the lack of training because of this pandemic as well, and I think that showed. I think an active Byfield and a condition to the sport Byfield, and this might be a different fight, you know.
Oh, he's an absolute handful, and as we saw in that fight against McNess, you know, he has real ability, and he showed it in that fight against Cheeseman too. But I agree entirely with everything that you've just said. If you've been out of the ring for that long, and you could get fit, you could do your sit-ups, you could do your pull-ups, you could do all of that, you could do your runs. You just haven't been in there for so long, as you described it. You're not ring fit, and he is definitely a fully paid up member of the Who Needs Him club, because people are not going to be queuing up to fight Asinia Byfield. It's just that's the way it is, and that's the way it's always been for him.
Because even an unconditioned Byfield, you can't beat him up. You see it now here. No, he's obviously he's made the weight and he looks great shape, but he's not ring conditioned. He's not ring fit, and Illiev's a good fighter, by the way. He's done some lovely work. But you can't break it. Byfield's tough. You can't break him down. Now, if Byfield's conditioned and fit and conditioned to the sport, gym and ring fit, then he's throwing more punches. This is a different fight, possibly. Illiev maybe rises to the occasion and shows that he's better, even better than what he's showing here, which is good enough. I think he's been impressing himself, Illiev. Been a good fight, actually. Really has.
Yeah, it's been enjoyable. He changes the level on that jab well, Illiev. Goes upstairs with it sometimes, but a lot of the time he throws it to the pit of the stomach, just a real stabbing shot, and he does it with the right hand too, and he's economical. His success rate is pretty high, I would say, when he's punching.
Yeah, it is. And, as he threw it, just you said that, I was thinking, he's a thinking fighter, isn't he? Even though he's busy, he's always thinking, and that jab there, that variation of the jab proves that. He's trying to get you to move your hands. He's trying to produce openings with that jab rather than just throw it just to score.
Byfield just soldiering on here, really trying to keep his boxing together, and still he comes forward looking for that left hand.
Oh, great turn, soldiering on.
It's exactly what he's doing, isn't it? Because he's, as you say, he's running on empty here, and he has been for a while, but he just will not even contemplate the merest notion of surrender.
Because I was thinking he's just looking to survive now because he's knackered, but that sort of disrespectful, don't really give him justice. He's not just looking to survive, he's just too tired to throw a shot, so yeah, he's just looking to soldier on. That's the perfect term for it. But Illiev's been good. You know, Honourable Byfield should be fit and this and that, and, but Illiev's been good. He's boxing a guy who's awkward, even if he ring fit, he's awkward, and he's shown good judgment of distance from the first round. Iliev, to be fair, that awkward style of Byfield hasn't really had too much an effect on him, I don't feel. He's still been able to get his punches off when he wants to throw him, and he's been impressive.
And he has. He's boxed well, and the recovery he was able to make in that round was impressive, as to embrace at the start of the round, because he wasn't just caught with one big shot. It was that big right hand that saw the knees dip, and he wasn't a million miles away from going down, but he was pinned a good 3-4 more times after that, and he somehow managed to get through it, because although in the end Byfield punched himself out, he landed enough there to put most fighters down, you would say.
Yeah, no, he did. Of course he did. Yeah, I think he did. I tell you what, he threw one uppercut, and Mitchie, he threw it from his ankles, and it just missed. And if that would have landed, it was straight after he dipped the legs of Illiev, he was gone. He might have knocked 3 or 4 people out with that shot, actually, if they would have been in line. It was a fully committed punch, let's say.
It did. It just kind of brushed the nose, didn't it? Just grazed the beard, the whiskers there of Illiev. But I remember that. Yeah, it was those big long arms. He dipped low and he scraped the canvas with it, and up it came.
A lot of it says a lot about Illiev's fitness, you know, because the next round he came out. I know Byfield was shattered, but he still came out busy. He didn't know how bad Byfield was going to be in the next round, how tired he was going to be. He came out like fully recovered. He shook it off literally within sort of 30 seconds of it happening. And that's good. That's good. Good fitness, good core strength.
He's had good notice for this, I think. Illiev went into camp around June time. He got married in June actually, and then after that, after a bit of time off. A honeymoon possibly, although maybe not in the current climate. He got into training.
That's a good jab there from Illiev. He's been good. This has obviously been the best fight of the night, but I think he's been the best performer of the night for me. He's been the one I can see going on.
Yeah, he's had an absolutely live opponent in front of him in Byfield, and as we've mentioned,
gutsy here for
Byfield. A Byfield boxing more regularly would be maybe a different proposition, but you beat what's in front of you, and what's been in front of him is still a fully committed and dangerous opponent.
Yeah, most definitely. Look at Byfield though, he's absolutely shattered. He's been shattered since about round 6, to be honest, but certainly after that big round, round 8.
And he's still looking to throw here, Byfield, just to see if he can maybe just land the miracle punch in the last 10 seconds. It's not going to happen for him.
It's good, lovely from Illiev there. 3 straight shots.
And it's a good fight, a good 10 rounds. And the 10 rounds that will really bring on Ismail Illiev, I think, and it gets Byfield back back in the saddle as well. He's back in the ring. He's not going to get this. The decision is going to go Illiev's way. But as we said, he's been out of the ring for a long time. He couldn't manage to get a fight, and so he's taken this one. And he deserves credit for that in itself, coming over to Belarus, where he would know that he'll be up against it. He's boxing out of the away corner, and he would have had a little look at Ismail Illiev, him and his team, and they would have realised that they were in against a good fighter.
No, he wouldn't have. Byfield would have thought, I'm going to stand this kid on his head. That's the character he is. And you can see it, didn't you? You can see the way he fights, but you have to be fit. And you have to be in and just running or whatever he's doing and making the weight doesn't make you fit. I'm not criticising him, of course, because circumstances beyond his control possibly, but you have to be fit and conditioned to your sport. And I think that let him down tonight. I'm not saying he would have won anyway, because Illiev, I think, is a good fighter, and I think he might have adapted. I think he showed straight away that he has good judgment of distance, and he didn't allow Byfield to set the pace at all. But I think Byfield will kick himself that, maybe he'll probably think, no, if I was conditioned, I wouldn't have let up, and I wouldn't have brought steam in that 7th round. When I had him hurt, I would have kept on him and would have got the stoppage. And also, all those rounds he wasn't throwing a lot of shots, you can sort of understand why now, can't you? Because he was trying to keep bits in reserve.
Yes,
but
it makes more sense now.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, yeah, but Illiev, I think I give Byfield 2 rounds, and I couldn't give him no more than that. He was competitive with some others, but I think Illiev was really good. The performance of the night for me from Illiev.
But he will be back, Byfield, I'm sure about that. I hope he is, because he's an interesting character. Good character having the sport. And good ability as well, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Illiev. We've seen some good fighters tonight that neither of us have seen before. Kossobutsky, the heavyweight, he was interesting. Plenty more to come from him. Khamkhoev at super welterweight, slick southpaw, powerful light heavyweight, well organised light heavy, and Ali Ismailov, and now Ismail Illiev. And it's always interesting to see new faces.
Ladies and gentlemen, вы готовы услышать судейское решение? So judge's decision is Judge 1, Sergei Khavitsky, 98-92, 98-92. Judge 2, Andrei Cherylov, 99-92, 99-92. Judge 3, Nikolai Veselov, 99-92, 99-92. Единогласным решением судей. By the unanimous decision, the winner is red.
So Illiev gets it, as we thought that he would. 8 rounds to 2 with 1 judge. And the other 2, the judges gave Byfield a round and a share of a round. That's what those 2 scores of 99-92 translate to. So pretty much exactly as you saw it, Barry, and he can't really have any complaints with that. So good performance from Ismail Illiev. Asinia Byfield just exiting the ring over on the far side. He had to shed a quite considerable amount of ring rust, but he stayed in there, and he never stopped putting his shoulder to that wheel and trying to push that cart uphill. But that's kind of what the job was like for him tonight. He did have a big round in the 7th when he almost had our man here on the canvas, but just couldn't quite follow it up. Illiev, as we said, deserving a huge amount of credit for being able to stay on his feet and soak up those shots. And by the end of that round, Byfield was, well, he punched himself to a standstill, really. So it's been a good night. It's been a good evening of boxing in our 4th and final Kold Wars. Our 4th and final one for now. I don't want to say too much, because that's up to Al to spread the word when he feels it's right. But I do hope that we will be back before too long. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.